Matt, that momentum has been tough to find for the Angels. After a slow start in 2012, it happened again in 2013, even with the addition of Josh Hamilton. A frustrating start here in Anaheim for the Angels. Fox Saturday Baseball is in Southern California, in Anaheim, for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, taking on the Baltimore Orioles. And now welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Joe Buck. Tim McCarver is coming right up. Well, it's a tale of two different starts for these two clubs. For the Orioles, right in the thick of it in the AL East. For the Angels, we just talked about it. It's been frustrating, but they have so much talent trying to get it all together. And today, how about right now, would be a good time for that to click in. Tim, bring you in. And as we look at the Orioles, first of all, Chris Davis, their big power threat in the middle of their lineup, out with a bad knee today, but he's day-to-day. They've been searching for a number 5 starter, and they hope they've found their guy today in Freddie Garcia.
Freddie Garcia went to Norfolk, the AAA affiliate of the Orioles, and he is back in the big leagues. And I don't know how he's going to do today, Joe, but one thing he appreciates being back in the big leagues. Long conversation with him last night. He takes nothing for granted now.
A 36-year-old right-hander ready to go. Meanwhile, on the other side for the Angels, so much talk to him about the power. And they add Hamilton, and they've got Pujols, and they've got Trout and Trumbo, but they're happy to have 2 guys back to help set the table.
The left side of the infield, Alberto Callaspo at third base. He's been out about 18 days. Eric Ibar coming back this week. And as Mike Scioscia says, they balance out the lineup. They are very, very good players, and the Angels are very glad to see them back.
So that's the Angels. How about the Orioles? People thought they might have been a fluke in 2012. Well, they have picked it up again here in 2013. Playing great baseball, fun team to watch. On display here for you today. MLB on Fox. Next. Is on an international feed today. The weather can't be any better there than it is here. 70 degrees and absolutely beautiful for baseball. And if you are Tommy Hanson, the right-hander, it's a nice day to pitch. And that right-hander is part of the back end of the rotation for the Angels, and that rotation the last couple times through, according to Mike Scioscia, their manager, has been much better. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for the Orioles, brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you've got to live Moss. And Nate McLouth has been phenomenal. Leading off in left field, Manny Machado, the 20-year-old, is at third base batting second. Nick Markakis in right. Adam Jones off to a strong start, cleans up. Reimold is the DH. Hardy at short. Steve Pearce at first base. Ryan Flaherty at second. Chris Snyder, who is a former Angel, is catching for the first time for the Orioles. But here's the right-hander, Tommy Hanson, who we got to know in his days with the Atlanta Braves. He's 2-1, and he's been pretty good his last two times out.
Yeah, he really has. He's lost a few miles an hour on his fastball. He throws a lot of breaking balls, and fastball counts. His last start, an epic start. That was last Monday night in Oakland. The Athletics and the Angels played 19 innings, and that game was the longest game in both histories. The Oakland Athletics, who went to Oakland in 1968, and of course the Angels, whose initial year in baseball was back in 1961.
Angels in that game blew a 5-run lead in the 8th inning, blew a 1-run lead the 9th, and the next thing they knew, they were playing into the next day. Let's take a look at the defensive lineup for the Angels, brought to you by Scott's, the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. There it is. Chuck is out in left field, Mike Trout in center, Mark Trumbo in right, with Callaspo back from the DL, second start, Ibar at short, Howie Kendrick at second base, Albert Pujols, bad left foot and all, is at first, and Iannetta back behind the plate. He caught all 19 innings in that game against the A's on Monday night, with Tommy Hanson in the middle.
And then Mike Scioscia gave him 3 days off. That's right, 3 days off after catching those 19 innings Monday.
Well, Scioscia, former catcher, knows what it's like, I guess, to theoretically squat down behind the plate for 19 innings. The opening pitch brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. You've got an Angels team 11-18. They lost 7 of 9 into last night's game, and they won last night behind Vargas. Jason was very good, pitched a 3-hit shutout, a 4-0 win, and so Angels trying to string wins together and climb back in it in the AL West. McLouth takes a pitch up and away, ball 1. Nate McLouth has had a revival in an Orioles uniform. And a guy who is hitting just under .430 over his last 11 games. Been very good in this leadoff spot. He takes a strike, and the count evens 1-1.
You're reading the defense, Joe. It's kind of unusual, the first time this year that the Angels did not have Josh Hamilton in the lineup.
The 1-1 pitch is up and away, and he's not in the lineup because he's not hitting. And he needs a day to step back, as you said, and talked about with Mike Scioscia, to view the game a little differently and maybe take the day off, even though he has dominated the Orioles starter today, Freddie Garcia. That's not close, and the count goes to 3 balls and a strike.
Josh out for about 45 minutes earlier this morning, taking extra hitting. And the Angels hope that his May through September is a lot better than early April.
Woof. There's a strike on a borderline pitch. McLouth thought it was ball 4. Instead, it's a full count. So Mike Scioscia wondering what is in store for Josh Hamilton, off to the same type start that Albert Pujols got off to last year in his first year with the Angels. Hanson comes back to get McLouth on a ground ball to second, 1 away. Meanwhile, I don't think, and I'm not going to speak for you, we haven't even talked about it really, but I don't think you and I have had a better visit with a manager in a long time than we had with Buck Showalter.
It was so entertaining.
We left the office. He said, I'm going to go get another cup of coffee. And I knew he had had at least one because he was on a roll.
He was.
Didn't want to let us leave. What else do we have? Let's see. What else? He's a TV guy now. All his days at ESPN, and now he's helpful.
He understands.
Here's a pitch up to Manny Machado, and the one guy he almost didn't want to talk about was this guy, Machado, because he doesn't want to jinx him. He knocked on his desk the minute we brought up his name because he thinks he's got a chance to be a superstar in this game for a long, long time.
I don't think there's any jinx around that's going to affect Machado. He'll be 21 on July 6th. That's right. He's 20 years old. What a player. Already.
Breaking ball is hammered in the air to left. Back at the wall, and it's gone. And right on cue, Machado takes a 2-0 hanger and dumps it over the wall and left for a 1-0 Orioles lead. Home run number 4, RBI number 19, and that was a rocket off the bat of Machado.
Manny probably thinking, what else are you going to do with a pitch like this? A letter-high breaking ball right in his wheelhouse.
And even through a batter and a half, you can see that Hansen is up. He's getting the upper parts of the strike zone. When he throws a strike, he's missing up and away, and that breaking ball just rolled up there. And Machado took care of the rest. Now it's a number 3 man in the lineup for the Orioles, Markakis, who is hitting .280 with 3 home runs, batting in front of Adam Jones. This guy, all he's done since he came to the big leagues is hit. Chokes up on the bat, and he is tied up on a pitch up and in, the count 0-2. Over 1,200 hits since he broke in for Markakis. As you look at Machado, Markakis broke in 2006. He has the 5th most hits in the American League since then. He waits on that breaking ball, pops it up. Iannetta gives it a look, and he's there for out number 2. And so Mike Scioscia, who is in his 14th season in that spot for the Angels, the longest tenured manager in the big leagues, in the midst of a 10-year, $50 million contract. This is a team that's trying to make the postseason for the first time since 2009, and the owner, Artie Moreno, has put a lot of money into payroll, hoping that the competition, not just with the American League, but with the Dodgers up the freeway, will pay off, because he has put money into the product. Here's a pitch on the inside corner, strike 1. Batter is Adam Jones. Locked him into a long-term deal last year, and Buck Showalter isn't worried about complacency creeping in one bit. That's strike 2.
Anything but with Adam, 2-time All-Star, Gold Glover. Orioles, a very good ball club. They have 3 Gold Glovers in their starting 9, their regular starting 9. Adam Jones, one of them.
Here's a 0-2 from Hansen. A strikeout ends the inning, but during the top of the first, it's the 20-year-old Manny Machado taking that 2-0 pitch from Hansen, driving it out to left. 1-0 Orioles after a half in Anaheim. Machado, bottom of the first inning, and it will be Freddie Garcia to the mound. The Angels batting order brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. Eric Ibar leads off at short, then Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, Mark Trumbo. There's no Josh Hamilton getting the day off. Callaspo is at third base. Kendrick Conger's the DH. Iannetta, those are the two catchers on this roster. J.B. Shuck is out in left, and he's in left because Borges, the typical center fielder, is out with a bad hamstring. He hurt it in that 19-inning game on Monday. And here is Freddie Garcia, who is with his 9th organization and his 6th major league team.
Long road back. He is dominant against the Angels, 16-3 as you saw lifetime, and tough to pick up here, and we'll tell you why. The rocks in center field, there's a light glare that comes off those rocks, and it's very difficult, particularly for left-handed hitters, to pick up Garcia, who throws right out of those rocks.
Good fastball, and the fastball's been a little better for Garcia. He used to be a 93, 94 mile per hour right-hander, but time has taken away some of the zip on that fastball, so he is in the category now of a crafty right-hander, something you typically assign to a left-hander, but he knows how to pitch. Last year was with the Yankees, and he gets the most out of what he has left a lot of the time because of what goes on between his ears. He is a smart guy out on the mound. He's seen and pretty much done it all. He's pitching well at AAA, gets his shot, and Ibar fouls it away to keep the count 1-2.
Freddie Garcia will throw a split finger fastball, and he usually uses that with 2 strikes to put away hitters. He learned that back in 2006, he said, when A.J. Brzezinski was his catcher, our old pal A.J., who's now with Texas.
Here is a 1-2 pitch from Garcia. Fastball rides up at 89 miles per hour in the count 2-2. Ibar came back off the disabled list this week, was on for about 3 weeks. And his partner on the left side over there, Callaspo, just came off yesterday. So trying to get healthy. It's been an injury-racked first month for the Angels, who did not enjoy April at all.
18 pitchers in their 40-man roster used by Mike Scioscia. 18.
3 balls, 2 strikes on Ibar. There's Jared Weaver, who we got a chance to talk to before the game. He's feeling better and hopes is about 2 weeks away. Here's a 3-2 pitch to the right side and over to make the play. Flaherty, 1 out. Give you the Baltimore defensive lineup, brought to you by Scott's, the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. McLeod in left, Jones in center, Markakis in right. 3 guys who've won a Gold Glove. Patrolling the outfield, then Machado, Hardy, who's an underrated player in the big leagues. J.J. Hardy at short. It's Ryan Flaherty at second, Steve Pearce at first, playing for the injured slugger for the Orioles, Chris Davis, and the catcher is Chris Snyder. You mentioned the Gold Glove awards in the outfield. J.J. Hardy won one with the Orioles while he's been popping home runs. Here's a strike to Mike Trout with Albert Pujols on deck. Breaking ball is not hit hard to Hardy. Had to hurry because Trout can fly. 2 out. For more on the starter, Freddie Garcia, we go down to our little fire plug, our guy that makes it happen every week, Kenny Rosenthal.
Well, Joe, Tim mentioned it. Freddie Garcia is a study in perseverance. This is the 4th time since 2008 that he has battled back to the major leagues after signing a minor league contract. And Tim and I asked him, what was it like to be back in the minors? And he said the key is you cannot get frustrated. You have to do what you do to get back to the major leagues. He said that too many players have their heads here in the majors while their bodies are there in the minors. Now, he did allow that the bus rides are brutal, but here he is, guys, back in the majors, his 345th career start.
He was kidding, saying the bus rides are a little longer in the minors. That's all.
First pitch, a strike, and now Pujols takes low, a ball and a strike. Well, it's been that spot, the 5th spot in the rotation for the Orioles, where they had Arrieta, the right-hander, who struggled through a handful of starts and got shipped out. He's had 2 real good ones at AAA. That was a dangerous pitch, and
Was
Pujols
it ever?
fouled it straight back. You'd like to have that pitch back. And after Zach Britton got a chance in this spot, Stinson, another pitcher that pitched in this number 5 position in the rotation for Buck Showalter, it's Garcia. Pujols will not miss many of those pitches. The 1-2 is hammered foul. Still 1-2 on Albert, who had that brutal April last year in his first year of a 10-year huge contract signing with the Angels. No doubt that weighed on him as people were waiting for the immediate results. Had a bad first month, not a great last month, still packed in 30 home runs pretty much in the middle. And hits a clunker off the end of the bat to the second baseman Flaherty on the other side of the bag. And down go the Angels. 1-2-3. 1-0. Orioles on top. Sponsored by the 2013 Ford F-150 with EcoBoost and by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. Second inning rolls in Anaheim, and 1-0 lead for the Orioles and a home run by Machado. Right-hander Tommy Hanson goes back to the hill. Former 22nd round pick of the Braves back in 2005, traded to the Angels last November. And the first pitch is pop foul back here for strike 1. What do you think? You think the Angels, who should be loaded in their lineup, have enough pitching to win the AL West?
No, not as it now exists. I think they need Jerry DiPoto, the general manager, needs to make a move. I think they're aware of that. They've got to be aware of it because it was the Achilles heel of the Angels at the beginning of the year, and in April it proved to be the case.
0-2 the count on Reimold, the DH. Nolan spins out of the way of that one, up and in for ball 1. Reimold hitting just .207, and since 2010 as a DH is hitting under 190, and that one came up and in a little too close for the Orioles DH. So a 1-2 count. And now breaking ball bounces in.
Pretty predictable about Hanson, that fastball up and in, then the breaking ball.
I was just going to say, if you think about the Angels, they let Danny Herron walk away. They let Zach Greinke go to the Dodgers of all teams. It seemed like they took money that they might have had earmarked for Greinke and gave it to Josh Hamilton.
$25 million a year guaranteed for 5 years.
It was 0-2. Now it's 3-2 on Nolan Reimold. And so now you have to hope that somebody like this man, Tommy Hanson, or Vargas, who was good last night, or Joe Blanton figures it out. Blanton good his last time out on Thursday, but he's 0-5. Here's a pop foul left side. Callaspo is over. So is Iannetta. And it's a souvenir for somebody in a giveaway hat.
Yeah, the Angel bullpen had just a horrible year. Of course, we talked about that 19-inning game on Monday. That could throw everything off. But it's pretty clear that Mike Scioscia needs for starters to get into the 7th inning, preferably by the 7th inning, to give that bullpen the rest that it needs to be effective.
And they're injured in that bullpen as well.
Yeah.
So not just thin because of that 19-inning game, but they're looking for guys to come back. 3-2 pitch is hit in the air into left. And easy for Shuck, the left fielder. Out number 1. Time for the Lowe's Never Stop Improving Game Break. Here's Matt Vasgersian.
Joe, the Cardinals have taken 4 out of 5 from Milwaukee this year. Adam Wainwright's pushed the Brewers around for years, but enough is enough, says Gene Segura. 2-run home run, the first allowed by Wainwright this year, and the fire's still hot. Bases loaded in the bottom of the first. Joe and Tim, back to you guys.
Take a look at the NL Central. Thanks, Matt. And when you see Segura hit an opposite field home run, realize that's the guy that this Angels organization gave up to get Zach Greinke from the Brewers last year.
Well, that is an excellent point. What a good-looking player he is.
So the Angels given up a lot of young talent over the last couple of years to bring in the veteran presence they've sought. And that has left their minor league system rather thin. Here is a hammered ball into left. Off the bat of Hardy and gone. J.J. Hardy took a pitch, led her high, and he hits one to where Machado visited earlier. It's 2-0 Orioles here in the second. Home run number 4 for J.J. Hardy. That pitch was up, and Hardy jumped all over it.
The breaking ball to Machado was up. And now J.J. Hardy, middle of the plate. Two high pitches from Hanson, 2 home runs by the Orioles.
Smiles in that dugout from the team that's on this long West Coast swing. They won 3 of 4 at Oakland. They lost 2 of 3 in Seattle. They're 1-1 here in Anaheim, and they lead 2-0 on a Saturday afternoon. First pitch of ball to Steve Pearce, who is getting to play first base. Better breaking ball there from Hanson. And the count 1 ball, 1 strike because Chris Davis, the 27-year-old first baseman, tweaked his knee last night. The 1-1 pitch. Base hit into center. Another pitch that's up, and it's been that way from the start for Tommy Hanson.
Why your pitching coaches preach, keep the ball down, make the hitter hit the top half of the ball to put the ball on the ground. 3 high pitches right there, and the Orioles are not missing many Hanson fastballs or breaking balls.
Here's Flaherty now, the second baseman, hitting just 108. Orioles just hoping that Brian Roberts can somehow come back and stay healthy. Over the last 3 years, he has battled injuries. Still a productive player, but having a tough time staying on the field, and he's about a month away.
Most recently, hamstring problems.
1 on, 1 out for Flaherty with Snyder on deck. And a base hit through the right side. The runner will stop at second. That is Pierce. Flaherty is on with a hit. And 3 straight have reached. And while we watch Hanson get knocked around, we go down to Kenny Rosenthal for more on this Angels rotation.
Well, Joe, you mentioned the rotation, the questions that surround it. In the first 15 games, that ERA of the rotation was not very good. Actually, the first 14. It was 6.07. Now, the past 15 games have been better. ERA of 3.82. And the 3 new additions, Hanson, Blanton, Vargas, have been especially good. But this question continues to surround this team. Will this rotation be good enough? And as Tim mentioned, a lot of people don't think so.
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't think so, Kenny, and we'll keep you on. I mean, the other question is, do they have anybody in the minor leagues that anybody wants to try and improve the pitching situation as it stands now?
Well, Joe, they are rather thin right now because of the trades that they've made. You mentioned this. And really, their minor league system, ranked by Baseball America, 30th out of 30 among all organizations. So they don't really have a lot of flexibility to get minor leaguers, and they don't have a lot of chances perhaps to get major league players because they are right under the luxury tax threshold, and they don't want to go over.
Where do they rank as far as the majors are concerned? 29th of the 30 teams. Only the Houston Astros with a higher earned run average per team.
Meanwhile, the number 9 batter, Chris Snyder, making his first start for the Orioles, former Angel. Batting with 2 on 1 out, took a ball in the dirt, and now the right-hander misses up. The count's 2-0, and this crowd is groaning a bit with these last few deliveries from Hansen.
Yeah, you need a double play ball, but you're not going to get a double play ball keeping the ball up.
Snyder was hitting well at AAA Salt Lake City. Been released by Washington this spring, signed by the Angels. And during the week when Taylor Teagarden went out with a thumb issue, they picked him up. Good breaking ball there from Hansen. And the count goes to 2-1. Two balls and a strike. Snyder 0 for 1 as an Oriole. Talking to Buck Showalter, he said, we haven't seen Garcia. We really haven't seen Snyder.
I mean, here it is, May 4th, and he's playing a player that he hasn't seen all year.
And the pitcher that he knows, obviously, Freddie Garcia. And
sure.
So he knows what he's going to get. But he said, I'm just as anxious as you guys to see how we come out and play. And they're playing again without Chris Davis, who had an MRI on that knee that he tweaked last night. So far inconclusive, but he was pleading with Buck Showalter to put him in the lineup today. So he can't feel that bad, even though it didn't look good last night. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Snyder, 2 on 1 out. And Hansen spins and looks back at the lead runner, Pierce. Buck Showalter, who took over in July of 2010. And he changed the culture and the feel around the Orioles almost instantly. Breaking ball is low and the count is full.
Buck Showalter, unconventional, like Joe Madden of the Tampa Bay Rays. Very little gets by that man. You can say that about a lot of major league managers. But he is wedded to his job. Buck is. Terrific manager.
2 on 1 out. Already a 2-0 lead for the Orioles. A chance for more. Snyder on 3-2 takes ball 4, I believe. And it is, and that'll load the bases. The home plate umpire was a little non-committal. Iannetta threw down to second. They still don't know, and it's ball 4 to load the bases.
That's why a catcher needs a quick call on a 3-2 count with runners on at first and second. And now they're saying the home plate umpire put his right hand up. That's Wally Bell. Check the right arm of Wally Bell. Was it up? The pitch looked like a good strike. The right arm was going up. And then I think he called it ball. He called it ball 4 because the bases are loaded. But the right arm was going up, and yeah, that's what Mike Socia and Mike Butcher, the pitching coach of the Angels, are complaining about. The call may have been ball, but the body language was strike. Watch the right arm. See, the right arm's ready to go up, and that's what Mike Socia and Mike Butcher complained about. But as it stands, bases loaded for the O's. So it's a home run followed by 2 singles and a walk.
The bases are loaded, and Mike Butcher wanted to wait long enough for the home plate umpire Wally Bell to come out and break up that meeting so that Butcher could say something to him before he headed back to the dugout. Meanwhile, Hansen is in a lot of second inning trouble. He's got the red hot Nate McLouth at the plate. Bases loaded, only one out. 4 straight have reached. And Hansen brings home the first. It's a good breaking ball, strike 1. Buck Showalter called Nate McLouth pound for pound as strong a player as we have. He's not a big guy. He'll run into a ball and pop a home run here and there, but he has been very good making contact and getting on base. He hits what might be a double play ball to Kendrick. Out. Got them both. And after all that, Hansen limits the damage. Only 1 run on that from J.J. Hardy. Missed opportunity for the Orioles to add on 2-0 after 1.5. The official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. And a beautiful look from overhead. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we've learned making tires that go the distance inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven. 2-0 Baltimore on the strength of 2 solo shots. One by Machado, one by J.J. Hardy. Orioles just missed a chance to add to their lead, had the bases loaded, 1 out, but McLouth bounced into a double play, and here's Trumbo. Well, Mark Trumbo is the guy that kind of gets lost in the shuffle, and in my mind, although he can be a streaky hitter, he is one of the more imposing threats in any batter's box in the big leagues.
Kind of pinched into that lineup, and pinched only with the expression of being pinched. This guy can hit 7 home runs. And Buck Showalter said he's not a real good defensive player, but he tries very hard, and he has a 6 arm. I've never heard that expression. A 6 arm, which I guess means above a 5, and he can flat throw. I think everybody knows that. That's why he's starting in right field.
That's inside. The count 2-1. He's 27. He hit 32 home runs last year, hit 29 in 2011. That was his first full year in the big leagues. He can get streaky, and right now he is on a good streak. Went deep last night. He and the younger Mike Trout hit home runs. Now the count 3-1. That backed Jason Vargas, who won his first game as an Angel, now 1-3 with a 3-hit shutout. Baltimore won on Thursday night behind Chris Tillman, the local product. 8 innings, 3 hits, no runs. Beat Joe Blanton, who gave his best performance as an Angel. That's over but low, and a leadoff walk. The Angels have their first base runner. Go for a game break. Here's Matt, Milwaukee and St. Louis.
Yeah, Joe, Yovani Gallardo began the day 1-11 with a 6.86 career ERA against the Cardinals. John Jay's trying to make those numbers even worse. A 3-run home run washed away the Brewers' early lead. 3-2 Cardinals in the second.
All right, Matt, thanks. The Cardinals, who lead the Central by a game over Pittsburgh. 2.5 over Cincinnati at the start of the day. We saw the highlight earlier, so 2 right now, and Milwaukee had that long winning streak. They're back to a 500 ball club. Here's a line drive into right, and it is right at Markakis for out number 1 off the bat of Callaspo.
Joe, you talked about Milwaukee's terrific shortstop, Segura, earlier. He's 3rd in the National League in hitting. Coming from the Angel organization.
Then the guy they got, Greinke, is the one that went up to L.A.
Right.
For a cool $147 million.
That'll work.
1 on, 1 out for Howie Kendrick. Kendrick trying to bunt his way on, had Machado deep at 3rd and fouls away strike 1. The Machado story is pretty interesting. He was a shortstop in the minor leagues for the Orioles. But before the gates opened, for about 2 months, they worked Machado out at 3rd base. So when they called him up, he was ready to take on a new position.
So you really have 2 shortstops on the left side of the Baltimore infield.
And 3 guys that can really run in the outfield.
Yeah. Great range on the left side. And what J.J. Hardy has said is with the range of Machado, Hardy can cheat up the middle and play hitters, even right-handed hitters, more to the left instead of having to protect that hole because he knows Machado's going to have it.
Machado came up in the 2nd week of August last year, so his first full season. Here comes a 1-1. That's to Hardy, not hard hit, out at 2nd and got them both. Nicely turned by Ryan Flaherty. Ball not hard hit and a double play ball nonetheless. Let's go to the 3rd inning here in Anaheim. Machado's coming up. He's already homered today. 2-0 Orioles on top. Presented by Budweiser as we move into inning number 3, 2-0. The Orioles on top. And it is Machado to lead it off. He homered his first time up. There's a balloon on the field, so maybe we can throw a headset onto tomorrow's starter, Jason Hamill.
Why not?
It's a kind of power. Oh, look at that. There he is, Jason Hamill. How are you?
Doing well, fellas. Yourself?
We're doing great. Now, what do you do on a – now, you guys are hitting, I know, but what do you do on a day like this when you're preparing to take on what is a pretty threatening lineup in tomorrow's series finale?
Well, I've been fortunate to see 3 games now. This is the 3rd game in a row, so I've been doing some homework, just kind of watching, seeing how guys are approaching the righties, and just relaxing.
It's got to be comforting, Jason, when a ground ball is hit to the left side of the infield, huh? When Manny Machado and J.J. Hardy are Gold Glovered short.
Oh, definitely. Anywhere on our grass, you feel comfortable. That's what I've changed myself into. Yeah, I used to try and strike guys out, and that didn't really get me too far. So, add the 2-seamer, just put it in play and let the guys do their work.
We just saw Machado ground out to short as Ibar took care of him. Now Nick Markakis stands in, talking to tomorrow's starter and really the front man in this rotation, Jason Hamill. And second year in an Oriole uniform, and it seems like just being in your clubhouse, Jason, you guys have a good feel, a manager you're dying to play for, would run through a wall for, and forget what people say, last year being a fluke, all that junk. You guys are ready to compete and win here in 2013.
Oh, definitely. Everybody on the outside looks at it as we shocked a lot of people, but honestly, we didn't get to the goals we were shooting for. We fell short. Everybody coming out of spring training always wants to win the last game of the season in October, and we didn't do that. So, we did some good things last year. Everybody grew. Like you said, a great clubhouse. Everybody's out to have fun. Buck, it all starts from the top, but we still got a little bit to go.
2 balls and a strike on Markakis, now 2-2. We obviously talk to all these managers, and it's easy for us to appreciate how smart Buck Showalter is. But what, on your level, on the player's level, what is it that makes him good?
Well, just how far ahead in the game he already is, going inning by inning. Just a few instances here, just having a lefty up maybe an inning ahead. I mean, it's basic managerial stuff, but he's already thinking of it, 2-3 innings before. So, and the fact that we have so much respect for him, and he demands so much out of us, but it's not seen as a burden. It's what we want to do for him. So, it's a lot of fun playing under him, and he leads the way for us.
I talked earlier and compared Joe Madden of the Rays with Buck Showalter. You've played for both. Mm-hmm. Are they similar in that way?
Very similar, very similar. Obviously great baseball minds, but the way that they cater to the club as not just, I can't really just say friend, but they allow us to be ourselves. They're not really expecting you to, be this. Obviously, you're supposed to be a professional, but they allow you to come in and have some fun and kind of just be yourselves, and that's what makes us so good. We're so different that we kind of help each other out with our differences.
Adam Jones just unleashed a long foul ball for strike 1. I know you guys have a great bullpen. You had it last year. You have it again this year. The numbers back it up. But from your starting rotation, it's on you guys to get deeper into games, and that hasn't been happening with regularity so far this season.
Yeah, we got to pick up some slack here. I think our bullpen, we're pretty blessed on there. You get past the 6th inning, I think we're starting to get a little too comfortable with that. The fact that you can't turn it over to our pen, it's pretty much game over. Jimmy closing it out in the end. Darren and both of our lefties. Brian Mass, a new arm last year, he went from the rotation to the pen, and he's been lights out since. So
here's a fly ball base hit into right field on a short hop to Trumbo. And the inning will continue as Jones is on with a 2-out single to right.
But we got to get deeper. They're picking up way too many innings early, already in April, and as a starter, that's our job. 200 innings is a benchmark, and you make 30 starts in 6 innings. That's not 200 innings. So I think as the weather warms up, we'll start going.
Yeah, well, and I know that's the hope. And as you look at your rotation now, currently in the big leagues, you also have some studs on the horizon, and you got to see a lot of those guys in spring training. How impressed did you come out of March after seeing those guys?
Bundy and Gossman both. baseball minds beyond their years. Definitely still kids and raw, but what they do and the way they go about themselves, their work ethic, you can tell that they care about being good. And they're not just good because they are. They want to be even better. So, like you said, you know, in the near future, we're going to get even better.
You having fun out here on your little West Coast swing?
Oh, I love it out here. I grew up in Seattle, so it's always nice to come back to the West Coast. I think I got a little jet lag coming over this year. But other than that, you know, it's always nice to come back and see the green. Everything's so green and plush and, you know, not a cloud in the sky. It's beautiful.
Talking to Jason Hamill, who is 4-1 pitching tomorrow, coming off a win in Seattle. And you wearing sunblock down there? We don't want to.
Yes, of course.
Put you in harm's way.
Yeah, definitely. My wife's watching, I'm sure, and she always tells me, "You're in the sun all day long. Put some sunblock on."
All right, you do have a hat on, though.
yeah, there you go.
Well, we appreciate the time, and it's always nice to get a chance to talk to you guys down in the dugout. Jason, 4-1 start. Best of luck to you, and thanks for stopping by.
Thanks a lot, fellas.
Thanks,
Appreciate having me.
All right, Jason Hamill, the right-hander, gets the ball tomorrow, and good for the Orioles with the kind of team they've put together, the kind of feel they have in their clubhouse. I was going to tell them that Buck Showalter kind of gave us a heads up, but I think he said it to us and didn't really want us to say it to the players. He said, I'd like to hang out with these guys more. They're fun. They're good guys. The guys that are married have picked good wives. They just are fun to hang around, and you can see that this is a team that, despite all the money being thrown around the AL East, they fully believe they have enough talent to win the division. A division that currently is led by the Boston Red Sox, off to a start that nobody predicted. Getting pitching that's just phenomenal.
Getting a manager that's phenomenal. And John Farrell, who clearly relates to the Boston Red Sox pitchers. Clearly.
2 balls and a strike, 1 on, 2 out. The batter is Nolan Reimold, who flied to left. His first time runner goes. And stealing second without a throw is Adam Jones, as the count goes to 3-1 on Reimold.
How about that? To get to 3-1, there were 2 pitch outs called by Mike Scioscia. And then finally, Adam Jones ran on a 2-1 breaking ball. He picked the right pitch and steals second without a play.
So Reimold has the easier RBI chance. He's driven in 7. He's hit 3 home runs. Average is down around 200 as he waits for a 3-1 pitch from Hunter. Breaking ball on 3-1. It's a full count. And nothing's been real easy for Tommy Hanson so far in today's start. Five hits allowed by Hanson. 2 of them have left the park. As strikeout ends the inning. That's strikeout number 2 on the day. We go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. Southern California 2-0. Orioles on top. The Ford keys to the game.
Well, they've already replaced Chris Davis' bat with 2 solo home runs as they lead 2-0. And for the Angels, it's vital to put something together, and I guess you could say that every day about this team.
Here's a comebacker on a bunt attempt. Out number 1 as Hank Conger tried to catch the Orioles back on their heels. Hit a little one-hopper back to Garcia, who made the play 1 out. So the 36-year-old right-hander, and it's really a note that Ken Rosenthal put in his notes, and who, according to Buck Showalter, is kind of in that same Jared Weaver category. He is 6'4", Freddie Garcia. Tall right-hander, throwing right out of that rock pile behind him, and so far the Angels don't have a hit. Callaspo with a semi-hard line drive out to right, but other than a walk, nothing for the Angels offensively as Iannetta, the catcher, stands in, took a ball, now a strike.
If you're a right-handed pitcher pitching in the daytime here in Southern California, you'd be foolish to drop down on hitters. When you drop down, it's clearly easier to pick the ball up.
These guys aren't squaring up Garcia at all. 2 out.
No, everything's over the top. Freddie Garcia has not dropped down on any hitter thus far in this game. Watch his delivery. Consequently, tougher to pick up, and the Angels have not scored a run, nor do they have a hit.
6 ground ball outs, only 1 out through the air. One of the ground ball outs produced a double play. That was off the bat of Kendrick back in the second. And with 2 out, nobody on, J.B. Shuck, the left fielder. Borges, the typical center fielder's out with a bad hamstring. He's on the DL. So Shuck, who was hitting well in limited times to the plate, over 400 in 27 at bats, fouls away strike number 1. The Angels got off to a slow start last year, and you thought, well, no way with Hamilton can they do it again. They did. 9-17 in April, and those 17 losses tying a club record. That's a strike. Shuck didn't like it in the count 0-2.
The worst 29 game start since 1994.
This is a team the Angels built to score runs, slug, and try and win games.
Win the 9-7 games.
And so when they're not slugging and they're not hitting home runs, and Hamilton and guys like Josh aren't producing yet, and their track records tell you they will, the Angels look like a flat ball club. 1-2 pitch is up and away, 2-2. Garcia has never been in any hurry to bring a pitch to the plate. See what he's done in this ballpark. He's 8-1. Happy to be back in the big leagues, and he just missed the inside corner. He started to walk away, and Wally Bell keeps everybody out there.
Tailing fastball, but just inside, says Wally Bell.
I don't agree, says Buck Showalter. But he's just going off Garcia's reaction. Now a 3-2 pitch is slapped foul.
The only guy who agreed was J.B. Shuck. Nice going, Wally, J.B. says.
Right. This Angels team is without their number 1 starter. They were without their shortstop and third baseman. They've got 3 guys, key members of their bullpen, out, including the right-hander they hoped would be their closer, Ryan Madsen. Here's a 3-2, and we'll see another. So here are the guys on the disabled list. Mentioned Borges. You've got Burnett, the left-hander who is seeking a second opinion on his ailing left forearm. Jepson, a big part of the bullpen, low. He is rehabbing on his way back. Here's a ground ball to short. Hardy to his left. Gets his man at first, and J.J. will lead it off. In the 4th inning, he's already gone deep. One of 2 Orioles home runs, and today, after 3, Baltimore on top, 2-0. Firestone, reminding you that whenever you drive a Firestone. And by the makers of One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of MLB. Weather couldn't be any better. 70 degrees at the start of the game, and as we go into the fourth inning, it will be J.J. Hardy, who's homered, Steve Pearce, and Ryan Flaherty, 6, 7, and 8 hitters. Had a chance to visit with Mike Scioscia during the break, manager of the Angels, and Hardy takes a strike. We have said, and we are on record, Mr. McCarver, and we've done that in the postseason when the audiences are at their biggest, that Mike Scioscia is one of the most effective and well thought out managers that we run across in the big leagues. It's easy to say, and maybe you say, well, you're saying that about Buck Showalter, now you're saying that about Scioscia. But here's a guy who's been here for 14 years, and there's not much that gets by him either.
Yeah, and they do it differently.
Here's a ground ball to the shortstop, Ibar, but can't get the out. Did all he could, and J.J. Hardy is 2 for 2.
By the time he makes the play, it's an accurate throw, but too much to do to get Hardy. So Hardy homered, and now an infield hit.
So we did talk to Mike Scioscia, and the first question was about his starting pitcher, Tommy Hanson, and what he's seeing so far today from the right-hander.
Well, early his stuff is up, and he paid the price for it. Hung a slider, and obviously got a fastball up to J.J. Hardy. But Tommy's battling. He got made some key pitches and key situations to minimize some damage. But he's got to get that ball down a bit and bring in his off-speed pitches if he's going to be effective through these middle innings.
And you're waiting for your guys to figure out Freddie Garcia. I mean, he just keeps rolling on. He pops back up, and here he is with we hadn't allowed a hit through 3.
We've seen Freddie a lot, and he's kind of reinvented himself over the last couple of years. Obviously not the same velocity he had when he's with Seattle, but he's tough if he can get that fastball in the good zones and start to mix and match his pitches. We haven't had too many good looks at him. Hopefully second time around we'll have a better idea.
You want some good news?
Please.
The interview's over.
Thank you.
All right. He is not a fan of talking from the dugout.
I don't blame him.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do it if I were a manager.
Now,
I would not do it if I were a manager.
Well, what kind of message are you sending?
Well, I don't care. I would not do it if I were a manager in the major leagues. I would not talk to television. I understand it favors us when we get someone to do it, but if I were a major league manager, I wouldn't do it during the game.
And there are some who don't.
Joe Torre, for instance, a guy who was an announcer prior to becoming a broadcaster, announced for the Angels, would not do that.
There are some that will do it, some that won't, and those that won't, they pass us off to their pitching coach or somebody else.
Yeah.
And, you make the most out of it. So Mike wanted to drop in. Now, let's be honest, the last time he did it, his team came back and won a ball game. So baseball players, managers being superstitious, he figures I'll do it again and we'll walk away on a Saturday with a win.
The most superstitious, by the way, is Justin Verlander of the Detroit Tigers. He thinks if he talks to us during the game, Detroit's going to win the game.
Michael Kahn, the right-hander, is getting loose. 1 ball, 1 strike on Steve Pearce, the first baseman, who has a hit. Now a check swing foul. And the count 1-2. So you're telling me there's no way I could come into your office as manager of the Washington Senators and say, Mr. McCarver, would you please, and I know they're the Nationals, but back then, would you please just put the headset on and let us ask you a couple of questions?
I would say, Joe, we've worked together for a long time, which we have, 18 years. Yes. We're very close friends, but no. The answer is no.
Okay. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Pearce. And the breaking ball stays up and in 2-2. Leadoff base hit by J.J. Hardy, an infield hit. Ryan Flaherty on deck. Bottom of the order trying to do damage. They got action going in the second, but the leadoff man, Nate McLouth, could not cash in on a bases loaded 1-out situation. So it's a 2-run game and a check on the runner as Kahn continues to get loose in the bullpen for the Angels. Ken Rosenthal is still with us, and we'll hear from Kenny after this next pitch to Steve Pearce. There goes the runner, Hardy. The pitch hits Pearce, and it's 2 on with nobody out. And we'll see if the right-hander Hansen will get a chance to face another batter.
J.J. Hardy had a tremendous jump at first base. There would not have been a play on him. And the breaking ball ends up hitting Steve Pearce. So an infield hit and a hit by pitch, and Hansen's in trouble again.
So Flaherty will dig in, and Kenny, while we look at this jump, and you're right, there was no chance to get Hardy if the hit by pitch doesn't happen. Flaherty waits with 2 on and nobody out. That is ripped foul by inches down the right field line off the bat of Ryan Flaherty. Trying to get to Ken Rosenthal, but I'm sure we're going to take another look.
Ooh.
Just on the wrong side of the line for the Orioles.
Yeah, if it hits any part of that line, of course, it is a fair ball, even the outside part of the line. But right on top of it was Larry Vanover.
Kenny Rosenthal, earlier in the year after the brutal start for the Angels, there was so much talk. Even a name like Tony La Russa popped up, and he had to quiet rumors that he could take over this Angels club despite the long-term contract. What do you think the security is for Mike Scioscia here with the Angels? Here's the 0-1 pitch. It's down and in. We missed the beginning of it, Kenny. Start over.
Joe, it's almost unthinkable still that they would fire Mike Scioscia. He signed through 2018. But perhaps the better question is, if this season goes badly, does Scioscia want to stay? And remember, his best teams here had this distinctive, aggressive style. And this team revolves largely around 2 free agent sluggers from other clubs, Pujols and Hamilton. And also, when you look at the Angels, well, Scioscia takes a lot of pride in adapting to his talent. He did that really well in the last 5 months of last season. And he's a guy who is deeply invested in this franchise and might not want to leave with unfinished business. But that said, you just wonder, after 14 years, he could walk away and get another job immediately, perhaps even from his old team, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
2 on, nobody out. 1-2 pitch is not close. And the count 2-2. Yeah, I agree with Kenny. I think Mike Scioscia is so well thought of in the game today that if he were to leave by his choice, if he were asked to leave, he'd be signed, if he wanted to be, immediately.
Scooped up in a second.
2 on, nobody out. The batter is Flaherty, who almost shot one fair down the right field line a moment ago. Here is a 2-2 pitch. He went around. That's a strikeout. The runners advance on the pitch in the dirt. And Flaherty has a conversation with Wally Bell, the home plate umpire. He is strikeout victim number 3 for Tommy Hansen.
That is a very alert play by J.J. Hardy and Steve Pearce going on this ball. Chris Iannetta had a tough time finding it originally, but J.J. Hardy took off immediately. That's excellent base running, particularly with nobody out, because now he's at third and can score on something other than a hit. That's it.
So now after the wild pitch, with runners advancing to second and third, it is Scioscia out to pay the visit, but so far no call to the bullpen.
It will be no call. I was wrong. Dead wrong, pal.
He's out there to talk about this at bat by Chris Snyder coming, the number 9 man in the Orioles order. Fox Saturday Baseball returns in 2 weeks with 3 great matchups. The White Sox will be here in Anaheim to take on the Angels. The Reds take on the Phillies. The Rays against the Orioles in Baltimore. Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Budweiser returns in 2 weeks, May 18th at 3:30 Eastern.
Mike Scioscia rarely goes to the mound, and consequently that's why I thought Tommy Hansen was through. But I think after seeing him talk, I think what he wanted to make that indelible impression of, don't give in to Chris Snyder. Make him swing at a ball out of the strike zone. to get him out.
First base is open. Here is a little fly ball into shallow right. Out goes Kendrick. That's out number 2, and a big one for the right-hander Hansen.
We'll try to freeze where that pitch was. That ball was off the plate away. The slider from Tommy Hansen. And sure enough, off the end of the bat. And I've got to believe that that's exactly what Mike Scioscia told Hansen, with Nate McLouth, the next hitter,
who is 0 for 2 but came in red hot. See the big numbers: 326 average, 3 homers, 10 RBI. Second and third, 2 out. Breaking ball drops in for strike 1. It was first and second, nobody out. A shot down the right field line that was just foul. Then Flaherty struck out. Wild pitch. The runners advanced to second and third. A little shallow pop fly out behind the second base position off the bat of Snyder. And now it's up to McLouth. The 0-1 pitch. Got under it and pops it up. Hansen could be out of the inning, and it's Schuck coming in to make the play. And into and out of trouble is Tommy Hansen. Bottom of the 4th inning. Angels have the top of their lineup. Coming up, down by 2. Brought to you by Avis, and there are the numbers in the long career of Freddie Garcia on the road. Over 30 games, over 500 away from his home park, and he's had a lot of home parks. 9th organization, 6th big league team that he's with as he makes his Orioles debut today. And so far, so good. He is not allowed to hit, 1 walk, and he erased that with a double play ball, so he has faced the minimum through 3. 2-0 Orioles lead, and a home run by Machado and a home run by Hardy. The 0-1 is just inside, maybe a little down. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Joe, in the last half inning, we talked about both managers, Buck Showalter and Mike Scioscia. I'll tell you, the Angels have done this week what you rarely see a Mike Scioscia team do, and that's mess up as badly on the bases as they did.
Here's a fly ball, shallow right, along the line, and it is a collision, but a catch by Markakis in right, and Flaherty is down. Ryan Flaherty and Nick Markakis came together, and Flaherty got hit in the neck or the head and slow to get up.
Well, the one thing, they were not going full speed when they ran into each other. I don't believe that's going to be a serious injury. Of course, I wasn't the one who got hit. We talked about Brian Roberts earlier.
Ugh.
That ball was taken out of the glove of Flaherty by Markakis. Normally an easier play for a right fielder or any outfielder coming in on the ball.
And how many times have you seen something that looks just simple and very innocuous, and then it leads to something?
Perhaps, yeah.
Because he took an elbow right to the head. And in this day and age, with all the concussion talk,
yeah,
and the concern about long-term effects of concussion, watch the right elbow of Markakis right into the side of the head of Ryan Flaherty. But so far, Flaherty is good enough to stay in the ball game. So that's good news for the Orioles. And there's one out here in the bottom of the fourth. And it brings in Mike Trout. And since the minute he came up, he was recalled after 20 games last year after that bad start for the Angels. When he hits, the Angels typically win. 341 he's hit in Angels wins, and under 250 in the losses. So he is a key piece of this order from Mike Scioscia, and the breaking ball is strike one.
Nobody in recent memory made more of an impact than Mike Trout did last year when he sensationally broke onto the scene here in Southern California.
He hits a rocket caught by Machado at third, 2 out. Cannot hit it any harder, and Machado made the play, 2 down.
And back to that base running with Pujols on Wednesday afternoon. Mark Trumbo was on at second base. Josh Hamilton goes from first to third. He's thrown out at third. Trumbo doesn't make it home. On Thursday night, it was Mike Trout on second base, first inning. First ball hitting Josh Hamilton. Nobody's there at home plate to tell Mike Trout to slide. Here it is right here. And Trout going in, standing up, highly uncharacteristic of Mike Scioscia-led teams. 2 days in a row, base running snafus.
Pujols goes after a bad ball, down and away, 0-2. When we talked to Scioscia about Pujols, he said, well, he's hit the ball better than the numbers would indicate. And there was a stretch there last year where the Angels and their fans saw Albert Pujols the way we saw him for so many years in St. Louis. He strikes out here, and it still really hasn't clicked in for number 5. Still wearing red, but wearing it here in Southern California. 2-0 after 4. Goodyear, everything we've learned making tires that go the distance inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven. 2-0 Orioles on top, and the guy who knocked home the first run with his 4th home run of the year, Manny Machado, is first up. It'll be Machado, then Nick Markakis, then Adam Jones. If anybody gets on the DH, Reimold. The 0-1 is slapped foul off to the right, and we give you the Ace Hardware Helpful Player Profile, brought to you by Ace, the helpful place. And it's the 11-game hitting streak that came to a close in last night's game for Manny Machado, but that's what he did. And when you combine that, Tim, those numbers with McLouth and how hot he's been, big reason why is Machado is now 2 for 3 on the day. This Orioles team is 4 games over 500. Leadoff man is on, and Tommy Hanson has now allowed 7 hits in the ballgame.
Yeah, he's been dancing through the raindrops here in Southern California so far. This is a key inning right here. I would imagine that base hit by Machado will get the bullpen back up again. Not yet, but pretty quickly.
Markakis now is 0 for 2. He's fouled out to the catcher and fly to center. Batting in the number 3 spot. Matt Wieters, the catcher with the day off. And nobody in the American League has had more action since 2010 than Wieters. So when he gets a chance to rest, as Buck Showalter told us, he's very good at actually getting rest. And then at the end of the ball game, gearing up for a pinch hitting appearance. Markakis takes a strike.
I don't remember Nick Markakis choking up on the bat like he is right now. That's a 34-inch bat, and he's choking up about 2.5 inches. When you do that, you have to move closer to the plate. Otherwise, you can't reach the outside pitch. Bat's not long enough. I know that sounds simple, but it's a fact. So what Nick did what Nick did was choke up using that small bat and move closer to the plate so he can reach the outside pitch.
We're good at simple. Been doing simple for 18 years. That pitch out almost got away from Iannetta. And Hanson has the count even at a ball and a strike. Seen a few pitch outs. None of them have caught the Orioles with anything so far in this game. That stuff's called from the dugout. You can see Iannetta looking over there right now as he gets back down to give the signs to Tommy Hanson. Runner at first, nobody out, and a 1-1 pitch. There's that list, and Markakis is number 5. Since he broke in 2006, he's hit 280 or better every year he's been in the big leagues. He started today at 280. Behind names like Young, Cano, Jeter, Ichiro. Another great jump, and no chance for Iannetta as Hanson is slow to the plate, and a stolen base for Machado, number 3 on the year.
Second uncontested stolen base for the Orioles. Remember the good play by J.J. Hardy last inning. Also Steve Pearce going to third and second respectively on the wild pitch by Hanson. He's holding no one close.
Here is a spin and a look back toward Machado. There are the numbers with runners in scoring position for Markakis. Driven home 11. Got 15 RBIs total on the season. Here's a 1-2. Off the end of the bat. Fly ball down the right field line, and Kendrick never saw it. We saw it at some point, then lost it, and that ball dropped with him not even making an effort to catch it.
At the very last minute, Albert Pujols gives up on the play because properly, I think Howie said, I got it, and then couldn't find it.
So Kendrick couldn't find it after crossing the line, and the at bat will continue for Markakis.
Talked about base running. That's a play. That's a tough play by Kendrick. Obviously lost the ball in the sun. Tagging up alertly was Machado, and that gives you again an idea about how alert Machado is. He is some player, and he's going to be much, much better.
One ball, two strikes. Markakis waits for another. And that's hammered foul. Well, this is an Angels team that so far has committed 21 errors. And if you compare that to the team they're taking on here in this series, the Orioles have committed only 10. The Angels defense is last in the American League, by far the most errors committed. So that's not helping what is injury racked rotation and bullpen for Mike Scioscia.
Tim Meade, the media director of the Angels, said Mike has a great saying, and that is clean it up. And that means when his team is playing raggedy, to clean things up and to get it right. Month of April and so far in May, they have not gotten it right.
Breaking ball is hit to Pujols. He looks at the runner but goes to the bag. One out. Over to third goes Machado. The top of the fifth inning continues, and NASCAR on Fox heads to Talladega tomorrow. Here's a look ahead.
Hey, baseball fans, NASCAR racer Michael Waltrip here. I want to give you the quick pitch on what NASCAR at Talladega is all about. Just think of it like an all-day long bench clearing brawl. We've got our infield, you have your infield. You have home runs, we got the big ones. We both have hit and runs. We've got a lot in common. Tune in tomorrow and check us out.
12 Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific from Talladega tomorrow, NASCAR on Fox. And now with the infield in, runner at third, Machado, one out. The batter is Adam Jones, who's 1 for 2. As Hansen misses upstairs with ball one. Jones struck out his first time. Singled, stole a base in the third his next time up. Up and in again. It's 2-0. Somehow this is still just a two-run game. Doesn't have that feel. And Adam Jones could change that right here. 2-0 the count, runner at third, one out. He tried to, 2-1.
Tried too hard to.
Three things you need or should know about Adam Jones. He's involved in the RBI program, Boys and Girls Clubs in Baltimore. He has a dog named Missy, a Labrador mix, and simply AJ10 is his Twitter handle. Here's the 2-1, 2-2. Good pitch by Hansen to even the count.
Adam lives about 5 miles from Buck Showalter, and Buck told us that he tweeted him when he bought that home and said, we're now barbecue buddies. We barbecue together.
He locked into a 6-year extension last year. The leader on this ball club, the 2-2 pitch. That's foul. Have an update coming from Matt Vasgersian at the MLB Network studios in a moment. Right now it's Adam Jones trying to provide a highlight here in Anaheim for the Orioles, who lead 2-0. Hamill and Jerome Williams be the starters in the series finale, a 4-game set tomorrow. Again, the infield is in. 2-2 pitch. Full count. Second start for Tommy Hansen since coming off the bereavement list. Back home to Georgia, passing of his stepbrother, 24-year-old, and he misses with ball 4. It's runners at the corners, one out. As Hansen is trying to stay in this ball game, we will go for that game break. Here's Matt.
Joe, Steven Strasburg still searching for his first win since opening day, and he's run into a suddenly loud Pirates lineup. National League hits leader Starling Marte and veteran infielder Clint Barmas, each touching him up for 2-run home runs, 4-2 Bucks in the 6th. Back to you guys, Joe and Tim.
All right, Matt, thanks. Pirates right on the heels of the Cardinals in the NL Central. And the Nationals start the day a 500 ball club, 2.5 games out behind the Braves, who got out to that great start. They're still 5 games over 500. Atlanta is. Washington 2.5 out. Philly is 2 games under, 3.5 out.
I think Steven Strasburg is pitching with good stuff, but no confidence whatsoever for the last month plus.
First and third, 1 out. The batter is Reimold, the DH. Jones got a good jump and no throw again.
That's a 3rd stolen base and 3rd no throw in this game. I don't think I've ever seen that before. 3 consecutive uncontested stolen bases off Tommy Hansen.
And for the former catcher Mike Scioscia, he's got to be fuming over that.
I'll say.
I mean, Iannetta has no chance to even try and get an out. Now second and third, the infield can come in as ball 1 drops down and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Reimold is 0 for 2. He's fly to left. He's struck out. He's got 3 home runs on the year, 7 RBIs. The big 6'6", 220-pound right-hander Tommy Hansen is taking a long time out of the stretch. Orioles have taken advantage of it. Here's a 1-1. A high strike, 1-2. Hansen from 2009 through 2011 with Atlanta was 10 games over 500. Good ERA at 3.28. Not as crisp the last year and a half. Here's a fly ball in the air to left. Back at the wall. This ball's caught. Tagging and scoring is Machado to make it 3-0. Nice catch by Shuck in left, spinning on the warning track. And the long sacrifice fly adds to the Oriole lead here in the 5th.
So obviously sac fly, the 8th RBI for Reimold. That base running was perfect by the Orioles. The guy at third tagged, and Adam Jones went as far as he could because there's no way to tag right here. And he got back to second base easily.
So he's there with 2 out. It's a 3-0 Orioles lead, and Machado, who led off with a base hit up the middle, stole a base. And then was moved over to third base. Scores on the sac fly by Reimold to make it 3-0. Now J.J. Hardy, who's 2 for 2. Top of the 5th inning, and it's 3 runs on 7 hits for Baltimore. Hardy homered in the 2nd, singled in the 4th. Goes down to get this one and pops it into shallow left for Shuck, and the inning is over. The Orioles add to their lead. RBI sac fly for Reimold. Coming up, Trumbo. He went deep last night. It looked like that. Angels have to get it going, down 3-0 halfway through it. Budweiser is sponsored by Chevrolet. Find new roads. It is the bottom of the 5th inning, and the Angels are looking, believe it or not, for their first hit off Freddie Garcia.
12 hitters have been to the plate, and 2 balls have been hit to the outfield. 2.
Ibar with a fly ball into right last inning, and Callaspo with a line drive to right in the 2nd. That's all. So Garcia has been terrific, and he gets Trumbo going after pitch number 1. It's strike 1. Garcia was 4-0 in Norfolk with an ERA of 2.67. He was signed to a deal after he was released by the Padres in spring training, where he would make 5 starts and then he could elect to get out of his contract with the Orioles organization. That time came and went. He extended his deal to pitch until at least mid-May, and he was rewarded with this start here in Anaheim today, and he's making it pay off. 0-2 pitch is down and away.
Freddie took a nonstop flight from Miami to Southern California on Thursday night. He could not wait to get here, of course, when apprised that he would be starting today, and has been just brilliant so far.
Here's a 1-2 pitch down and away. The Orioles were beaten on this trip by Joe Saunders, also a former Angel, but a former teammate that Baltimore let walk away after 2012, pitching for Seattle now. He was part of the offseason, obviously, for the Orioles. We'll talk to Ken Rosenthal about more of that offseason. Here's a pop-up out behind second, shallow center for Adam Jones. And Ken Rosenthal, the Orioles were not very active over the offseason, but here they are right in the thick of it yet again in the AL East.
Exactly, Joe. Their biggest moves were probably re-signing Nate McLeod, signing Jair Jurgens to a minor league deal, and picking T.J. McFarland in the Rule 5 draft. Kind of pales in comparison to Josh Hamilton. But here are the Orioles. They are the youngest team in the AL East, even younger than Tampa Bay. And as Buck Showalter says, they played a lot of games last year without Manny Machado, without Nate McLeod, without Nick Markakis. And they trusted in their own players, trusted that they would get better, and that is what's happening.
And really one of their best bats against right-handed pitching, Wilson Betemit, is out, and that, Ken Rosenthal, is a big piece of the puzzle that's missing for Buck Showalter.
Absolutely, Joe. And keep in mind also, Freddie Garcia, obviously, great audition here for the 5th starter's job. But we heard Jason Hamill mention Kevin Gausman earlier. He is a kid at Double-A, the #1 draft pick last year, 29 strikeouts and 1 walk. And when I spoke with Orioles general manager Dan Duquette earlier this week, he said, keep your eyes on him.
Here is a 2-0 pitch on the outside corner to Callaspo, who lined out to right. Really the only hard-hit ball so far against Garcia.
Tell you what kind of impact Dan Duquette, the general manager of the Orioles, had. He is the general manager who traded for Pedro Martinez for the Boston Red Sox.
There's strike 2.
And after obtaining Martinez for the next 8 or 9 years, they didn't dominate the American League East, but they had some classic matchups. Martinez, the Yankees, future Hall of Famer in another couple of years.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out, nobody on, and Garcia brings home another, and a line drive into right is caught for out number 2. So for the 2nd time today, Callaspo lines out to Markakis, and that ball just kept carrying.
A lot tougher play. Didn't look like Nick picked it up originally, and ends up catching it about 6 inches off the ground, but still no hits off Garcia.
And now with the bases empty, here is Howie Kendrick, who bounced into a double play his first time up. Ball 1. The Angels thought they were putting it together. 2 weekends ago, they swept Detroit. Tigers have taken off since then. The Angels have been fumbling around. Lost 7 of 9 coming into last night's game. That's into center field and will carry to Jones. Another loud out. And Garcia's not allowed to hit through 5. Markakis helping him out. 6th inning rolls in Anaheim. Orioles leading 3-0. Makers of One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of MLB. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Move into the 6th inning, 3-0 game. We welcome you inside the broadcast booth. I'm Joe, that's Tim, and you can see why the Orioles in a short while and the life they have around this team, and you can see why they're believers that they're good enough to win this division.
I think what we're seeing today, Joe, it's a collision of one team that's doing things right and another team that's doing a lot of things wrong. The Angels, we talked about their base running. They've had a defensive lapse today. No hits through 5. They need to kick it in. The Orioles need to keep doing what they're doing.
Michael Kahn, a right-hander, takes over for Tommy Hanson. If he gets a decision, he'll be a loser today. He came in 2-1. He goes 5, allows 3 runs on 7 hits, walked 2, struck out 3, 2 home runs allowed. A hit batsman, a wild pitch, and Kahn, who's got a little more zip and life on the fastball, hits it at 94 miles per hour and evens the count at 1. There are the numbers for Kahn out of the bullpen. A bullpen that's missing some key pieces. That's in the air to left, and that ball will drop for a hit. It gets beyond Shuck, and down to second base is Pierce. It's a double for Pierce to start the 6th.
It's got to be very difficult to see down there because of the glare of the sun. That ball on the handle of Steve Pierce, his second hit of the day. J.B. Shuck does not have a good jump on the ball. It gets by him. And a double for Pierce.
Pierce has been on base 3 times in this game, and he's playing because of the knee injury. And again, we don't know the severity of it, suffered by Chris Davis last night. Davis, who was just named the American League Player of the Month for the month of April, hoping to be back in there tomorrow, was trying to talk his way into the lineup today. Flaherty takes a ball that rides up and away from Kahn. This bullpen for the Angels doesn't have Mark Lowe, does not have Kevin Jepson, not have the closer Ryan Madsen, and they've suffered without those arms. They also don't have their left-hander Sean Burnett. The count's gone to 2-0, and we've talked about it. Now we'll show it to you. Chris Davis with this slow ground ball hit to the left side, and when he hit the bag, jarred that right knee.
Looked like his right foot may have turned after he crossed the bag. It was an unusual play, leading the American League in home runs with 9.
Here's a 2-0. 2-1. Big swing by Flaherty. Dan Duquette evidently has tweeted that it looks like Davis will not have to go to the disabled list. So that's good news for the Orioles. Their big guy who was traded to Baltimore from Texas and who seems to just be finding it now consistently at the big league level does not have any long-term issue with that right knee. 2-2 now on Flaherty.
What a difference. The curveball and off-speed stuff from Tommy Hansen. And then Michael Kahn out there just throwing one fastball after another. Mid-90s.
Here's his 2-2. And he's just pumping it home, and it's a full count. Mike Scioscia made the switch. Garrett Richards, who had made 2 good starts, 2 poor starts, is back in the bullpen for the Angels. Jerome Williams gets the ball tomorrow. That's fouled out of play. Williams gave 6 innings in that 19-inning affair on Monday against the A's, and Mike Scioscia likes him in the rotation better, and maybe as importantly likes the presence of Garrett Richards, who he thinks could someday be a closer or a starter in the big leagues to help out in the bullpen.
One of the best arms in the Angel organization.
3 balls, 2 strikes on Ryan Flaherty with Snyder on deck. That's over but low. 2 on, nobody out. Celebrate the craft of baseball. For your chance to win a Chevrolet Impala and a trip to the MLB All-Star Game, visit ChevyBaseball.com. A double, a walk, and now Snyder. Chris, in his first start with the Orioles, has walked, popped up with 2 on back in the 4th. He's got 2 on here in the 6th. Trying to bunt and advance the runners, and it's fouled for strike 1.
Chris Snyder's last sacrifice was in 2011. You can see he had 7 home runs in 21 games for Salt Lake City. That's the Angels AAA team, and guys continue to come up to the major leagues and do not know how to bunt.
Snyder, former 2nd-round pick by Arizona, waiting for the 0-1 pitch, showing it again and getting out of the way of a 93-mile-an-hour riding fastball. Ball 1. In the category of a lost art.
Oh, no question. Not only that, but Buck Showalter admitting that he'd never seen Chris Snyder play. So how does he know whether he can bunt or not?
Here's the 1-1. That's a strike. 1-2.
That's one of his answers. Doubtful with the ball and 2 strikes that Chris will bunt again.
Bobby Dickerson, the third base coach for Baltimore, flashing the signs as Snyder gets back in. Runners at 1st and 2nd, nobody out here in the 6th. 3-0 Baltimore on top. Laid off, one of the rare breaking balls that Kahn has thrown since coming out of the pen. The count 2-2. Snyder waits, a 2-2 count. And he strikes out on a pitch riding over the inside part of the plate. One away. And that is in the category of a wasted at bat.
And not only do you waste an at bat by the inability to bunt, but you get into a count where the manager can't keep the bunt on and you end up striking out. I mean, how many times have we seen that? Guys attempting to bunt themselves into 2 strikes, and then they end up striking out or hit defensively with 2 strikes on them.
Now with 2 on 1 out, the batter is McLouth, who is 0 for 3, and he takes a strike over the outside corner. I know you want to try and advance the runners.
Sure,
you want to try
sure.
and stay out of the double
Sure.
play with a guy like Snyder who doesn't run well, but it's almost just not even worth putting it on.
I was just thinking that, Joe. We may be in a period where the bunt may be phased out of the game in the next year or 2.
Here's strike 2 now on McLouth.
I mean, if guys can't do it, why put it on?
McLouth has grounded out twice, one time into a double play fly to left, and now he's in the hole 0-2. On deck is Machado, who's had a nice day at the plate. Right now it's Kahn against McLouth. The 0-2. Big swing by McLouth. A double, a walk in the inning, and now a pitch in the dirt, smothered by the Angel catcher Iannetta, and the count 1-2. And Iannetta is going to go out and talk to Kahn.
You can't help but think about number 4, who passed this past offseason, the great Earl Weaver, Hall of Fame manager, who said, forget about the sacrifice. What I like, 3-run home runs. Well, it's a chance without the sacrifice for a 3-run home run right here.
McLouth on the year has hit 3 home runs, driven in 10, and now he backs out of there. The Angels in the bottom of the 6th inning, looking for their first hit of the game, will have the bottom 3 in their lineup. Imperative for Kahn, for the Angels, to keep it right where it is on the scoreboard. 1-2 pitch. Pitch was up, and McLouth unloaded. You mentioned him, and here he is.
One of the feistiest, smartest managers ever. 17 seasons as Orioles manager, and I'll tell you what, if you played the Orioles, you had to beat that team while he was a manager. He would not give an inch.
Here's a 1-2 in the dirt, 2-2. McLouth has battled the count back to even. Pierce led off with a double to left. Flaherty drew a walk. Snyder struck out looking, and McLouth in the air to right. Trumbo to his right for out number 2. Runners return, and we go to Matt Vasgersian at the MLB Network studios for a game break.
Joe, the Nationals started play having scored more than 2 runs only once in their last 6 games. They're on the board for 4 today, thanks in part to Wilson Ramos, a 2-1 single that makes it 4-4 in Pittsburgh. Joe and Tim, back to you guys.
So a good game with the Pirates and the Nationals. And here a 3-0 game that feels a lot more lopsided than that. Kahn was in trouble with 2 on, nobody out. Now 2 on, 2 out, but he is not out of the woods yet. With Machado at the plate, there's ball 1. Machado homered in the first, grounded out in the third, singled, stole a base, and scored a run in the 5th. That's high and tight, 2-0. Oh, why not? We'll just pile it on. Pile some more pressure on Manny Machado. Throw up that graphic. Brooks Robinson and Manny Machado. And through the first 81 career games, so half a season. And there are the numbers. And for a guy on the left, regarded as one of, if not the best defensive third baseman ever in the game, Machado's a good one, too. Now it counts 3-0.
I don't think realistically that's a fair sample.
No, I don't think so.
Since Brooks played 23 years for the Baltimore
The first
Orioles.
81 games doesn't do it for you?
No, not even close.
3-0 the count. Machado waits, and Kahn, with the kid swinging on 3-0, fouls it behind home plate, and Kahn gets out of trouble. So they let Manny Machado swing on 3-0, and he fouls out to end the inning. Bottom of the sixth rolls in. Bottom of the order coming up. 3-0 Baltimore. And for the Angels, you see all the zeros on the right of that line score. No runs, no hits, no errors. They have a walk. They've hit into a double play, and Freddie Garcia, who's called up from AAA, 36-year-old right-hander who has been around and pretty much done it all. Brings home a breaking ball that just dips right into the strike zone for strike one on Hank Conger, the DH.
It's okay to say it.
Here's a nice play by the first baseman for out number one. That's Pierce, who smothered it, playing pretty close to the line and deep. And here's the day so far for Garcia.
You could say it again. He is pitching a no-hitter, facing the minimum. Freddie has never pitched a no-hitter. His career low, a one-hitter on August 23rd, 2005, pitching for the Chicago White Sox. And a good defensive play by Steve Pierce at first.
So Garcia has one out in the sixth, and he deals with Iannetta, who grounded out to short his first time up. Garcia originally part of the Astros organization, where they had that pipeline of finding talent in Venezuela. There's a strike. He made his name with Seattle, then the White Sox, Philadelphia for a year. He was hurt that year and made only 11 starts. Detroit for 3 starts. Back to the White Sox, the Yankees, now the Orioles. That's inside, and the count 2-1.
Joe, you and I did that game in 2005. Game 4 of the 2005 World Series. Freddie Garcia against the Houston Astros. A 1-0 win.
So he's got a ring with the White Sox in 05. And they beat the Angels that year.
Great postseason.
It was an unbelievable postseason. Some of the best pitching by any staff we've seen since we've been together in '96.
Yep.
That White Sox staff was unhittable. The rotation, it's almost like they didn't need to bring the bullpen. Here's a pitch down and away. And the count full, 3-2 on Iannetta. One out, nobody on. Iannetta looking for the first Angels hit of the day. It's just a 3-run game. He strikes out, and that's number 2 on the day for Garcia. So the Angels thought, no way can we do it again. You look at 2012, a 12-17 start. This year, 11-18 through 29 games. The offensive numbers, no good. The pitching numbers, not good. And then the big star last year, Pujols, through 29 games, hit under 200. And Hamilton this year, through 29 games, just over 200. And you're talking about 2 of the best hitters in the game. 2 out, nobody on, and a strike to Shuck. JB grounded out to short his first time up. Only 64 pitches thrown by Garcia. 2 out. That should end the inning. A pop up into shallow left. That's McLeod. And we go to the 7th. How about Garcia? No hits through 6. 3-0 Orioles. With the heart of the order coming up. Baseball presented by Budweiser. We've worked together for how many years now? 18 years. We They just put us on the kiss cam here on the big screen.
Wait a minute. I don't understand that.
Well, they did.
I missed it.
I don't know if you. I don't care if you understand it. I just am telling you that they did that.
Well, I missed it, and I'm glad I did.
I didn't, and I gave the no chance sign. Here's Dane De La Rosa, third pitcher of the day for the Angels. Takes over for Kahn. He got into and out of trouble. De La Rosa will deal with the big bats. Markakis, Jones, and Reimold. How about that? Tried to do it between his legs. Instead, it's Ibar, and he pulls Pujols off the bag.
How about that ball crawling through the legs of De La Rosa, and it almost hit the bag. I think that's one reason that Ibar had a difficult time getting it out of his glove. Check this out. It's a ground hugger. Almost hit the bag, and a base hit to lead off the seventh for Markakis.
And I'll tell you, Markakis was hustling the entire way. That's the only way he gets a base hit.
When hitters smell a hit, it's easy to hustle.
And lunging for the bag, making it easily as Pujols had to come off. Now it's one on, nobody out for Adam Jones. Orioles have had runners all over the place, but have only managed 3 runs so far on 9 hits. They've stranded 8 and hit into a double play. Adam Jones is 1 for 2. A strikeout, a single, a walk, 2 stolen bases on the day. 1-0. That's out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jones started the day 10th in the league, hitting .328. 21 RBIs, tied for 6th. Look at Garcia, who will find more and more room in that dugout the deeper he gets into this game without giving a hit. There's a foul left side, 1-2.
More and more players get away from him. It's a ritual in baseball. If you're pitching a no-hitter after the 6th inning, distance and darkness.
Machado's the security guy's closer to him than Machado. 1 on, 2 out. Rather, 1 on, nobody out. 1-2 the count. And De La Rosa brings it. Might be. Kendrick starts it. Ibar in the middle. Got them both. 4-6-3 on the double play. Time now for the Just for Men Auto Stop Foolproof Stat. 2 out here in the top of the 7th inning. What might that foolproof stat be? We look at Garcia, who's thrown only 65 pitches against this Angels lineup. 6 innings in the books and not a hit. Top of the order will bat in the 7th inning, bottom half for the Angels. That means Ibar, Trout, and Pujols. 2 out, nobody on. Here's Nolan Reimold, the DH, takes a strike. Nolan a sac fly that he hit to deep left. With 2 on, 1 out in the 5th. That's his last time up. He's fly to left, struck out 0 for 2. Here is an 0-1 from De La Rosa. Strike 2.
Nolan Reimold, just proud he is playing this year. Played only 15 games last year. Had a herniated disc in his neck. Operated on at Johns Hopkins University Hospital on June 25th. He's okay now.
He came back, though, and gave this team a jolt at the end.
He
hit
did.
5 home runs in less than 20 games. But here he is, and off to a slow start. That's why I'm starting to go there with Adam Jones. I don't care who you are, what money you make in this league and in Major League Baseball, to get off to a good start has got to be such a great feeling, as opposed to the opposite, waiting for it to click in. And you think about Hamilton, Albert Pujols last year. Doesn't matter about the resume and what's on the back of the card, as they say, the baseball card. That frustration has got to mount quickly.
Not only affects you individually, it affects the team also.
With 2 out, pretty good pitch, a check swing, and no appeal. So the count 2-2. Dane De La Rosa, 6'7" right-hander, brings it in, and a breaking ball is hit in the air to left. Back at the wall. It is gone. Another home run for the Orioles. It's their third of the day, and for Reimold, his fourth of the season. So from a near strikeout to the next pitch, a home run. It's 4-0 Baltimore in the seventh. Looked like a rolling breaking ball that came to the plate.
You're right. Hanging slider. Every home run hit, and there have been 3 by right-handed batters. Reimold with a sac fly up in his eyes. I said slider. It looked more like a curveball. But all home runs hit today, right around the letters.
Fastball at 95 for strike 1 on J.J. Hardy, who was on that list. He has one of the 3 home runs. This guy's hit 56 home runs over the last 2.5 seasons. That is by far the most of any shortstop in the game.
It's the most unusual style for a power hitter, with the hands low. You'd think you could pop that high fastball by him, but somehow he gets the hands back up to handle it.
Here's a 1-1. Foul back, and he had a rip. 1-2. So a little more breathing room for Freddie Garcia when he gets back out on the mound in the bottom of this 7th inning and deals with the top of the order for the Angels. Here's a 1-2.
I know of no other major league hitter who starts with his hands as low as J.J. Hardy. They're below the letters, 4 or 5 inches below the letters. So to adjust to that high fastball, he's got to bring the hands up. It's tough to do.
He is signed through next season, and he has been a productive Orioles hitter and shortstop. With those hands low, he takes outside. 2-2. Hardy broke in with the Brewers as he strikes out to end the top of the 7th inning. And JJ in his second full season with the Orioles strikes out. 4-0 after the home run. Time to stretch. Is sponsored by Scott's, the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball, and by the 2013 Ford F-150 with EcoBoost. This, my friend, is turning into one of those days that falls into the category of you never know what you're going to see when you come to the ballpark.
That's really true. 6 innings of no-hit ball tossed by Freddie Garcia in his first start with the Orioles. I beg your pardon. Yeah, the Orioles.
Here is Ibar. Top of the order. Upstairs, ball 1. The only blemish is a walk to Trumbo leading off the second. Otherwise, we'd be talking about a perfect game through 6. 1-0. That might fall into center. That is the first hit of the game for the Angels. Ibar is on to start the 7th in a 4-0 game.
We were talking about it between innings. I mean, the Angels haven't even hit the ball hard to make loud outs. And this is not a loud single, but it counts. Off the end of the bat by Ibar, floating into center field for the first hit of the game.
And now we'll see if that turns into anything for the Angels with Trout, Pujols, and Trumbo coming up. Trout hit a line drive caught by Machado at third his last time. He's 0 for 2. This young man who took the league by storm last year stands in hitting .266, and he gets under it, flies it into the air third base side. Hardy back to get it, and he makes the catch with a lot of white showing. 1 out. Talladega tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific here on Fox.
Yeah, that ball rolling around in the glove a bit of J.J. Hardy, the Gold Glove shortstop. Finally grips it.
And now Pujols, who is in year 2 of a 10-year deal. One on, one out, 4-0 game. In at the knees, strike 1. Pujols has hit home runs in 3 of his last 5 games. He had a streak of 74 at bats without a home run end on Monday. Waits for the 0-1. In the air into right. Going to get it is Markakis. 2 out. Part of this pitching performance by Freddie Garcia is his catcher today, Chris Snyder. For more on Snyder's journey to the Orioles and the big leagues, here's Ken Rosenthal.
Well, Joe, no hitter or not, this has to be one of the most unlikely batteries you will ever see in a performance like this. As you guys have said, Freddie Garcia's first start for the Orioles. Also, Chris Snyder's first start for the Orioles. He started the spring with Washington, went to the Angels, went to AAA with the Angels, then was traded to the Orioles. He told me he basically has been living out of a suitcase on 6 or 7 shirts. He said the experience has been humbling but rejuvenating.
And he is, I'm sure, having the time of his life back there, catching Freddie Garcia. He caught that one out of the strike zone, ball 1. 32 years old, so he's been around, former second-round pick. And with this Orioles team, because of a dislocated left thumb injury on the part of Taylor Teagarden. With 2 out and a runner at first, the batter is Trumbo, who has walked and flied to center. That's a strike, and Garcia's kept these hitters off balance all day.
For some, living out of a suitcase does not include 6 or 7 shirts. It includes 2 or 3.
So Snyder's been looking at the same stuff in the mirror for spring training and beyond. Here is a 1-1 pitch. 2-1. Three things on Mark Trumbo, who was born in Anaheim, California. Attended the same high school as Kevin Costner and Aaron Boone. And there's his Twitter handle, mtrumbo44. One on, two out. Trumbo ahead on the count, 2-1. Garcia brings in. That is a rocket into left. Back at the wall. And the Angels are on the board. Two-run home run by Trumbo, number 8. And it's a two-run game. We've seen 4 home runs, all of them ending up in about the same spot.
In the bullpen.
And Trumbo has made this a two-run game. And now to buy some time, pitching coach Rick Adair goes out to talk with Garcia. And they will spring to action in the Orioles bullpen.
Looks like Darren O'Day warming for the Orioles.
How could you tell?
Well, he could because of the sidearm motion, but he can get ready about as quick as any Oriole reliever. Shake his hand, he's ready to come in the game.
Talked about how Trumbo can get streaky. He's on a great streak for the Angels. 5 home runs in his last 6 games. And with that, this lopsided game is just a two-run affair as Callaspo takes ball 1. Callaspo is the one guy in this lineup that's hit Garcia hard twice in this game, but he's 0 for 2. Lined out to right twice. Here's a 1-0. 2-0. So the first hit followed by the first runs on the day for the Angels, who are 7 games under 500 and 7 games out in the AL West. Here's a 2-0. 2-1. Callaspo didn't agree. Both Callaspo and Ibar missed about 3 weeks. Callaspo with a right calf strain. Ibar with a bruised left heel. Second game back for Callaspo. Grounds a base hit into right. And with Howie Kendrick coming up, we'll see if Buck Showalter is going to dip into that very good Orioles bullpen.
I would think so, Joe.
I mean, they've gotten as much as they can expect.
Oh, yeah.
Or could have ever
Absolutely.
hoped for out of Freddie Garcia.
Absolutely.
In this game, Kendrick is 0 for 2. And he is going to face Darren O'Day. Great debut for Garcia in an Orioles uniform. He is out of the game here in the 7th. ends up going 6 2/3, 2 runs on 3 hits. He leaves with a man aboard. 78 pitches, that's it. The 36-year-old with his 6th major league team after going 4-0 at AAA will sleep well tonight and feel very satisfied with what he gave his new team here on May the 4th.
Darren O'Day in there, the sidearmer to pitch to Howie Kendrick. But you know, when you think about it, most of the Orioles don't even know Freddie Garcia. He's only been with the team one day. He didn't take spring training with him. He was released from San Diego at the end of spring training before his trip to Norfolk. He was terrific this afternoon.
O'Day checks on the runner. That's Cayaspo, who will steal a base, and it's worth it if you get a jump on this sidearm style of O'Day to try and take a base. Only in the 7th, 2-run game, 4-2. Outside, ball 1.
Those guys who just come off the DL are reluctant to run. They're reluctant to be aggressive on the bases since they haven't played for 3 or 4 weeks. Of course, he played last night, but one game doesn't make things right.
That's a strike. I would imagine it's tough for any runner or first base coach to see exactly where and when O'Day comes set. He has that high set position.
And you have to do that all the time. You can't come set at the waist and then come set at the chest. If you come set at the chest, you have to do it all the time.
And that time call.
Because if you don't, you're deceiving the runner. Excuse me.
He has almost a little rocking motion as he's coming set.
Yeah, he does. Right there.
And that's up and away to make the count 2-1. Even the hands move just a bit, and then he comes set for an instant before it comes to the plate. Kendrick at the plate, Cayaspo at first, tying run at the plate, 2-1 the count. 4-2 game. On the outside corner, Kendrick spins out of there, didn't like it, 2-2. Howie's hit 4 home runs, driven in 15, hitting .284. Very productive second baseman with the bat in his hand.
He can hit the ball out in right field too. Very strong.
The 2-2. Got it. Struck him out on a pitch up to end the inning. What a productive inning. Trumbo, 4th home run of the day that we've seen. 3 by the Orioles, 1 by the Angels. 2-run game. Let's go to the 8th. Game, 2 runs, 4-2. Baltimore on top, bottom part of the order for the Orioles. Means Pierce, Flaherty, and Snyder. Steve's had a nice day. Couple of hits, hit by a pitch. And the 6'7" right-hander De La Rosa finds strike 1. Home run hit last inning by Reimold after almost striking out. A little breathing room even after that 2-run home run by Trumbo. The bottom of the 7th. That's strike 2.
Good split from De La Rosa. Yeah, you never know how important those tack-on runs are going to be until the game's over.
But the way the Orioles roll out of their bullpen, the numbers are
staggering.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't happen. Weak swing and a miss, and Pierce is gone to start the 8th. Fox Sports proudly supports Feeding America, the nation's leading domestic hunger relief charity. Next Saturday, May 11th, help stamp out hunger by leaving a bag of non-perishable food items next to your mailbox. Your letter carrier will deliver the items to Feeding America food banks across the country. For more information, visit feedingamerica.org/stampOutHunger. Strike 1 on a 95-mile-per-hour pitch from De La Rosa to Flaherty. Flaherty got hit in the head with an elbow earlier. Glad to see he's still in there. In the bottom of the 8th inning, it'll be Conger, Iannetta, and Schuck. The top of the order, meaning Trout and Pujols, will bat again before the end of this one. And if anybody gets on the rest of the way, Trumbo. So this game is a long way from over. 1 ball, 1 strike with 1 out, nobody on. De La Rosa misses with ball 2. The Orioles tied a team record with 16 wins in April. It's a little skewed because the season starts earlier than it used to way back when. But a team that comes in 3.5 games out behind the Red Sox. And in the midst of a pretty good swing through the West Coast. 2-2 on Flaherty.
Buck Showalter in our meeting today before the game telling us that some of these statistics that guys come out with, you mentioned the word skewed. Then we brought up the fact that Buster Posey, terrific catcher of the Giants, last night won the game against the Dodgers with a home run off Ron Belisario, and he had been 0 for 6 with 5 strikeouts before that. And Buck said, yeah, if I were Don, I would have pinch hit for him. If I were Bruce Bochy, I would have pinch hit for him. 0 for 6 with 5 strikeouts, and he wins the game with a home run.
That's in the dirt, a full count. And I think it speaks to the bigger point, which is what Buck was bringing up, that statistics are good. They help fortify my opinion, but they don't shape my opinion. They don't make my opinion. I don't look at a stat and say, oh, well, I guess that means we should do this. He has his feeling. It backs up what his gut tells him, but he doesn't rely on it. Here's Kendrick to his right, surrounds it, gets the out. Good play, 2 down. Major League Baseball and People magazine are looking to salute our nation's finest. 30 veterans and military service members, one to represent each Major League Baseball team, will be recognized at the 2013 MLB All-Star Game in New York City. To nominate, go to tributeforheroes.com. Before the game, Marine Corps Sergeant Davy Lind threw out the first pitch. So a nice moment to come before the All-Star Game, which last year was in Kansas City and was dominated by a lot of young, exciting players that are filtering into this game. Both Trout and Bryce Harper, part of that Midsummer Classic last year. And we'll have more, even a guy like Machado.
He wasn't, but will be if not this year, for many years to come.
Here's Snyder, took a strike, and now the next from De La Rosa. Breaking ball in the dirt, a ball and a strike. This to me is becoming more and more of a young man's game. And we've talked about it before, that Major League Baseball, all the talk about performance enhancing drugs, has done such a good job of eliminating amphetamines and stuff that kept guys on the field dating back into the 60s. This is a grind for anybody's body, 162 games, and the younger guys handle it better. And so you see these young guys come up and maintain, while some of the older guys start to fizzle toward the second half of the season. Ball and 2 strikes on the number 9 man Snyder, who is looking for his first hit as an Oriole. Turned into a good game here in Anaheim. Here comes a 1-2 from De La Rosa. Out of play off to the right.
There are exceptions, however, as there are to everything. A guy like Travis Hafner of the Yankees, off to a good start in April, who can find a place like being a designated hitter for a team that can afford him.
He did himself a favor by losing a lot of weight prior to the season, which filters into that as well. But he's another guy that Brian Cashman has found to get a lot of good at bats from after many years with the Indians. That's up and away, and the count 2-2.
And then you look at the start that David Ortiz has had as a designated hitter of the Red Sox. He's red hot. The Red Sox are red hot.
David Ortiz came off the DL on April 20th, and he is hitting .465
as a 37-year-old. Of course, David's always been young at heart.
Check swing. Snyder didn't go. They don't appeal. And it's full count.
Or you look at Juan Pierre, who's trying to become the 18th player to steal 600 bases. He did not go around. Wally Bell was right.
So a 3-2 count. And now a pop-up behind the plate. Iannetta tiptoeing near the on-deck circle. The inning is over. Bottom of the 8th rolls in. Bottom of the order coming up. Conger, Iannetta, and Shuck. Angels bat down by 2. Budweiser is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving. And by Taco Bell, sometimes you gotta live Moss. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we've learned making tires that go the distance inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven. Bottom of the 8th, 2-run game, 4-2 Orioles on top, bottom of the order. Hank Conger, Chris Iannetta, J.B. Shuck. Angels start this game with a big weapon on their bench, Josh Hamilton. Off to his slow start, hitting .208, 2 homers, 9 RBIs, 37 strikeouts. But we may see him before the end of this game.
I was thinking the same thing. J.B. Shuck is due up third. If either Conger or Iannetta get on, will we see Josh Hamilton? Maybe.
First pitch, a ball to Conger, who's grounded out twice. That spins in for strike 1. The numbers for the bullpen for the Orioles are stunning. They have not lost a game they've led after 7 innings since August of 2011. 105 games without a loss when leading after 7. That is the 3rd best streak of its kind. Here's a bunt. That is just, oh, now Conger falls down and still will make it. They played Conger so far to pull. He took advantage of the wide open left side of the infield and dropped down a bunt hit.
And now he has the wherewithal to laugh about this. Almost rolling to first base. Recovers his balance.
His teammates won't give him any trouble about that.
Oh, no, of course not.
He's telling he just told the trainer, I'm fine, but I think maybe just to make things look good, they're going to send the trainer out.
My body feels fine, but my feelings are hurt.
Well, he's able to laugh, and it's a good play. I mean,
oh, you bet it is. Now the tying run is at the plate. And we might see Josh Hamilton.
They're telling him to, I think, pull down his shirt sleeve, which is jammed up under his right uniform top sleeve.
Wow, how telling is this? The potential tying run at the plate, and it's not Josh Hamilton.
It's Scott Cousins.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a surprise and certainly didn't break the heart of Buck Showalter when we talked to him before the game that Hamilton, even with his struggles, didn't start today against Freddie Garcia. He took Garcia deep twice last year and has good numbers against him. So it's Cousins batting for Iannetta. That means that Conger will likely catch, and the Angels are going to lose their DH.
Yeah, the pitcher will go into Chris Iannetta's spot, hitting 8. But of course, they have to score 2 anyway to tie it, at least.
Here is a 1-0. Down and away, 2-0. So Hamilton, there are the numbers: 29 games, 2 homers, 9 RBIs, worked early with extra batting practice. And as Mike Scioscia put it, he's either on his toes and jumping at a pitch or caught flat-footed, and he's just off. But he can mistake his way to a home run in this ballpark during the daylight hours as the count has gone to 3-0.
I was going to say that could be the one thing that gets him going if he got a big hit in a game like this. That's the other thing that Mike Scioscia is looking at.
Well, after the next spot, Shuck, he loses the opportunity really to hit Josh Hamilton because he's not going to lift these other guys for a pinch hitter.
That's right.
Instead, it's Cousins. It doesn't matter. He draws a walk, and the tying runs are on. Talked about the extra batting practice, and you can see just with Mike Scioscia behind him working on that trigger and trying to get the right mechanism together to hit the ball with authority. And that looked like that was with authority. And now with Shuck coming up, third base coach Dino Ebel is going to call Shuck down, make sure of what the Angels want to do. You expect the bunt. Buck Showalter charges out of the dugout, and he's going to talk with O'Day.
Well, the one thing about this play is you have a slow runner on at second base. He's a catcher, Hank Conger. Scott Cousins at first base. The Angels would love to flip those two because Cousins is a faster runner than Conger. So the slower the runner at second base, the better the bunt's got to be, of course.
Mattis is in the bullpen, the left-hander.
I think they're going to use the rotation play. Hardy is shifted toward third base. The rotation, or the wheel, is when the third baseman charges and the shortstop covers third for the force out.
See if Shuck can get one down or if they even ask him to bunt. 2 on, nobody out. Tying runs aboard, and ball 1. The bunt base hit with the left side of the infield wide open by Conger. Then the walk to the pinch hitter Scott Cousins. Now Ebel through the signs for Shuck.
I think the safest bunt is down the first baseline, not third.
That is ball 2, 2-0.
The Orioles have a 2-run lead. The option is go to second base with the ball. That way you cut down the potential tying run.
O'Day spins.
Those are all the things going through a 20-year-old's mind at third base in Manny Machado.
Machado, they talk about his instincts on the diamond.
Yep.
They could be tested here. Here's a 2-0 pitch. Not close. And O'Day can't find the strike zone. That's 7 in a row out of the strike zone from O'Day. O'Day has to prove he can throw a strike. And he does on the outside edge, and Shuck didn't like the call.
JB thought it was outside, and he may have been right.
Here is a 3-1 pitch. And the bunt. Machado charges. The throw to first for the out. And Flaherty just got to the bag in time. The runners advance to second and third.
Machado realized he had to charge the ball in a hurry, and he did. A perfect bunt by Shuck. I mean, he threw a bullet to first base. And Flaherty just got to the bag to just get Shuck.
And he may have the only arm
right
in this infield that can turn that into an out. Machado's got a rocket hanging off his right shoulder. And it took every bit of his best fastball to get the out. But now the tying run is a base hit away. Runners at second and third, 1 out for Ibar. Eric 1 for 3. He got the first hit for the Angels last inning. Strike one. Cousins is the tying run at second. The guy in front of him is Conger. And I think Schuck is talking about that 3-0 pitch. It was called strike one.
Maybe, yeah.
Hard hit, foul. Strike two. Past Alfredo Griffin down the right side. 0-2.
Talking to Rick Adair, the pitching coach for the Orioles, and he said the one thing that makes Darren O'Day effective against left-handed hitters is he can elevate the ball, and he does that. He likes to do it with 2 strikes. So we'll see how he tries to finish off Ibar.
Here is an 0-2 pitch. Reaching for it, a run will score. Flaherty makes the play, 2 out. It's a 1-run game, 4-3 here in the 8th. Conger crosses the plate. Hank got on with that bunt base hit. And the tying run now is 90 feet away. But 2 out for, I don't even think arguably, the game's best young hitter, Mike Trout. He's 0 for 3. He's lined out, popped up, grounded out. Last night went deep. Home run number 4. Into the greenery over the wall in center. He could tie it. He could put the Angels on top for the first time today. Ball 1. That's Cousins. Time called at the plate. Granted by Wally Bell, the home plate umpire. Here is a 1-0 pitch. Good breaking ball that drops in for strike one. Trout has driven in 20. Tied with Trumbo for the most on this Angels team. And again, Trout asks for and receives timeout. The 1-1. High and tight. On deck is Albert Pujols. O'Day relieved in the 7th, struck out Kendrick. Has allowed 1 run. Ball has not left the infield. Runner at third, 2 out, 2-1 pitch. Strike 2.
Two fastballs have been inside the Trout. 2 breaking balls have been strikes. I think O'Day's got to throw another breaking ball right here.
The 2-2. Jammed him, fly ball, base hit, tie game.
It was not a breaking ball. It was a fastball inside, but you can't quibble about pitch selection when a guy gets on like this. Mike Trout, with a little flare the other way, not only ties it, but now is a threat to run.
Choked up with 2 strikes and flipped one over the head of Pierce for the RBI game-tying base hit. And now you're in a spot where Trout can use his legs if he wishes, try and steal a base, or just watch the at-bat by Pujols.
And Pujols is great about taking pitches to give a guy a chance to run. He was like that with St. Louis, and he's like that with the Angels. He does not mind hitting behind in the count.
So the Angels, who did not have a hit until the 7th inning against Freddie Garcia, have come back to tie this game at 4. Big swing by Pujols, strike 1. Great percentage for the young Mike Trout. So far, he has stolen 4. Last year, Trout had 49 stolen bases to lead the league. Strike 2. And not only 49 steals for Trout last year, but he was caught only 5 times.
See if Buck Showalter pitches out here. Good time to do it. Trout's either going to run on this count or a 1-2 count. He can't wait much longer. If he's thrown out, Pujols leads off the bottom of the 9th.
That's low. 1-2. This all started with a bunt base hit by Hank Conger, taking advantage of the defense and starting it. Even though he took a tumble down the first baseline, he got up, made it without a play. Runner goes. Struck him out as Pujols goes down swinging. And the inning is over. The Orioles got single tallies in the 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 6th. The Angels have tied it 4-4 into the 9th. In a tie game, top of the 9th inning. Won't be a save situation, so it's Ernesto Frieri who gets the ball, his 12th game. He had 2 days off after a 35-pitch effort on Wednesday. Hank Conger now is behind the plate. The Angels have lost their DH. So the pitcher will bat in the spot vacated by Iannetta and Cousins. Frieri deals, and a strike hits the outside corner to Nate McLouth. Top of the order for the Orioles. McLouth, Machado, and Markakis. Good relief work by De La Rosa for the most part. 2 hits, 1 run. Over 2 innings, he struck out 2. That's strike 2.
With that save on Wednesday, it was a 5-out save. Unusual for Frieri, but necessary for the Angels. I mean necessary.
Off the hands and back to the screen, still 0-2.
Mike Scioscia telling us that had that game on Wednesday in Oakland gone to the 10th inning, perhaps Mark Trumbo would have been on the mound.
That's how thin they were after that 19-inning game on Monday. He said, we're just now finally reset after that start to the week.
Yeah.
1-2. McLouth, an 0 for 4 day. Came in red hot. Grounded out twice. Popped out. Lined out to right. A strikeout starts the ninth. Time now for the King plays of the game, brought to you by Burger King, where taste is king. The 4 home runs, all to pretty much the same spot. Machado, Hardy, Reimold. And then for the first runs of the game for the Angels, Trumbo. That made it 4-2 in the 7th. 2 runs in the 8th. That look from Josh Hamilton to Trumbo, who's red hot. Home runs in 5 of the last 6 games, and it's a 4-4 game 9th inning with Machado at the plate. Took a ball. With 1 out, takes ball 2.
One thing about Frieri's slider that Mike Scioscia loves is it goes down, not only away from a right-handed batter, but down out of the strike zone.
Here is a 2-0. On the outside corner, 2-1. Talked about Ryan Madson, former closer for the Phillies, signed by the Reds. A Tommy John surgery, still working his way back, signed with the Angels, and they are anxious to get him on the mound. It's going to be a little while longer. Here's a foul back here, and it's 2-2. Big rip by Machado, who homered back in the first. Has a 2 for 4 day going with Markakis on deck.
I talked to Ryan Madson in the dugout before last night's game, and he told me that a couple of weeks ago he felt like he was making progress, but he had a mild setback. So it may be another 2 or 3 weeks before he starts throwing.
The 2-2. Full count. He had scar tissue that was around the area where he had that ligament transplant surgery, and he had to get that massaged off, which doesn't sound very pleasant.
But I mean, is it remarkable what they're doing, what medicine is doing for pitchers now? I mean, they have Tommy John surgery, come back and throw better than they did before.
Here's a 3-2, a strikeout for out number 2. Angels fans, remember to tune in tomorrow on Fox Sports West for the final game of this series. Coverage starts at noon Pacific. And a matchup of Jason Hamill, 4-1. We heard from him earlier in the day against Jerome Williams, who's in the rotation with Garrett Richards kicked back to the bullpen. With 2 out, nobody on, here's Markakis. 1 for 4. Good fastball, strike 1. For the Angels in the bottom of this inning, it'll be Trumbo, who is red hot, then Callaspo, then Kendrick. If anybody gets on, the catcher now, Conger. Here is the 0-1 from Frieri. Strike 2, and Ernesto could strike out the side here in the 9th.
I love how Mike Scioscia will often go with common sense instead of convention. They're playing the fatter part of the field. Neither the third baseman nor Pujols at first are on the lines. That opens up a double down the line, but that's up to a pitcher and a catcher to keep it off the lines.
You say that as opposed to just the non-thinking, well, it's a tie game, 2 out.
Yeah, right.
Just hug the line and don't think about it.
Yeah. That used to be the case. Not with today's managers.
Good swing by Markakis. The count's still 0-2. Two right-handers getting ready for the Orioles out in their pen. One of them, you know, is their closer, Johnson. In case Markakis pops one here for the lead. The other's Tommy Hunter. He struck out the side. And Frieri's fired up. Trumbo's fired up, ready to lead it off. Bottom of the 9th inning. He'll try to end it. Tied at 4. Ball presented by Budweiser. And a good one as it turns out here in Anaheim. Front part of the game, really first 2/3 of this thing dominated by the Baltimore Orioles and the pitching of Freddie Garcia. Angels didn't have their first hit until the 7th inning. But they got 2 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th, a 4-4 game, and Trumbo, who drove in the first 2 runs for the Angels with a 2-run shot, has 4 career walk-off home runs. Deals with a big right-hander, Tommy Hunter. Former Texas Ranger deals outside, ball 1. A 1-0. Strike 1. Hunter was part of the deal that brought Chris Davis as well to the Orioles organization. So a big deal, as it turns out, for Baltimore, sending Koji Uehara, the right-handed reliever, to the Rangers. That's outside, 2-1. Rangers thought they had enough to get that championship. That was a couple of years ago when they ended up losing in heartbreaking fashion in games 6 and 7 to the St. Louis Cardinals. Here's a 2-1. 2-2.
Tommy Hunter with 4 fastballs trying for the outside corner. 2 have missed and 2 have been strikes. Trying to stay away from Trumbo's power, even though Mark has power the other way.
Not close, full count. Callaspo on deck. 3 balls, 2 strikes, the count. And a leadoff walk.
6 straight fastballs from Tommy Hunter to Mark Trumbo. Fastball misses. Fastball for a strike. Missed again. The 2-1. It's 2-2. Missed badly. Missed badly.
So how do you play it now, manager McCarver, with Callaspo at the plate and the winning run at first, nobody out in the ninth?
Swing the bat.
Callaspo's had good swings all game. He's pulled the ball 3 times. The Orioles are in with Machado at third. Joe's bunt, pulls back, ball 1.
Sometimes you get the infielders moving around, and if the first pitch is a ball, the hitter's in a good hitting situation. The manager like Mike Scioscia can change it around. But the whole left side is open. Guy could hit a ground ball through the left side.
Machado came screaming in on that first pitch. Swing and a miss. Throw to second and got him for out number 1. They went to the hit and run after showing bunt on the first pitch. And the bases are empty, 1 down in the ninth.
One thing you hope is that the hitter puts the ball in play somewhere, preferably on the ground. Fine throw by Chris Snyder to get Mark Trumbo. Quickly and nicely done by Snyder.
Now with the bases empty, Callaspo pops it up. Out beyond short. It's McLouth. 2 out. So aggressive from Mike Scioscia, putting on the hit and run, and it bit the Angels here in the ninth. Bases empty, 2 out for Howie Kendrick.
How about that statistic? 19 outs on the base paths this season. The worst in the American League, and that's out of a franchise that has prided itself on its base running. Even though that was not the base runner's fault, but the hitter, Callaspo, for not putting the ball in play, or at least fouling it off.
Here's Kendrick. He takes high for ball 1. We told you earlier the Orioles have won 105 consecutive regular season games when leading after 7. They had a lead after 7 in this one. The lead is gone. Tie game. Kendrick now with a 1-1 count. With 2 out, nobody on, a 1-1 is swung on and missed, strike 2. So the leadoff walk is erased when Trumbo is out stealing on the front end of a hit and run. Callaspo flied out, and now a 1-2 to Kendrick. Tommy Hunter throwing hard in the upper 90s with that fastball. That last one 97 to Kendrick. Kendrick has enjoyed hitting here at home this season, hitting .358. A career .291 hitter. A lot of production out of that second base position. And he's got a bat in his hands. Waits for a 1-2 pitch from Hunter. Tipped foul to keep the at bat alive. The Orioles, if we go to the 10th inning, will have Adam Jones, Nolan Reimold, and J.J. Hardy. Home run threats in the 10th. That's down and in, and Tommy Hunter started to walk away, stunned that the 9th inning is still alive.
Follow through, he kept going. Low. Called by Wally Bell, the home plate umpire.
And now Wally Bell's got his mask off and pointing into the Orioles dugout at somebody who's given him trouble.
Well, that's a one pitch that a manager or pitching coach can tell. You can tell the height of the ball from the dugout, not whether it's inside or outside.
Now a 2-2 pitch. The at bat continues. It was in extra innings that the Orioles were so good. Extra innings and one-run games last year. The Orioles were 16-2 in extra innings as they made the playoffs for the first time since 1997. That is a tap foul. So far they're 1-2 in extra innings and under 500 at 4-5 in one-run games. Hunter's 2-2 pitch is hit in the air to left. That ball might get down. It will. A base hit. And the 9th inning continues with Hank Conger coming to the plate.
That's the problem with that no doubles defense. Your outfielders are so deep, and balls that would normally be caught drop in front of them. And that was a tight hit that Kendrick got on that 2-strike count.
We are one more base runner away from a lot of drama. You've got Conger at the plate and the big bat of Josh Hamilton on deck. Conger bunted for a base hit his last time up. They're giving him all that room yet again. I know it may be crazy to say, but
hey,
that's how we got it started last inning.
That's exactly right. Why not?
Ball one. There it is again. He's got Machado so far. He's playing shortstop, Machado.
Right. Well, he's normally a shortstop.
Right. And so if he wanted to, he's already bunted for a base hit in that spot. Did that last inning to start the 2-run rally that tied it. Right now, Hunter has fallen behind 2-0. Conger has one home run. And started the day hitting .219.
And you get the feeling, Joe, that the crowd is, there was that spurt of enthusiasm knowing Josh Hamilton by some of the people above the Angel dugout. And then there are more and more people realizing who's on deck right now. And as many eyes on him as are on Conger.
Here's a 2-0. He had a rip. Trying to end it and leave Hamilton standing in the on-deck circle. That's as big a swing as he's going to take.
Nothing fancy by Tommy Hunter. All fastballs to Angel hitters here in the 9th inning. Catch me if you can.
2 balls and a strike. Winning run at first. 2 out in the 9th. Another big swing. 2-2. The other part of it is if the inning gets to Hamilton, that means Frieri is out of the game.
Yep.
Hamilton would bat for Frieri as the Angels have lost the DH. And they pinch hit for Iannetta in the 8th. Conger waits for a 2-2. Runner goes. Inside, throw down is too late. And a stolen base for Howie Kendrick.
Fine jump by Howie Kendrick. And he makes it easily.
3rd stolen base of the year for Kendrick. And not much of a chance for Snyder.
No.
The Oriole catcher.
So if you're Conger, you've got to look for a fastball and try to catch up to it, because that's what he's going to get.
Base hit could win it. It's a full count. A pitch out of the strike zone brings up Hamilton. Right side, Pierce makes the play. And we are going to extra inning.
How about that? A 3-2 breaking ball from Hunter, the only one he threw the whole inning.
Conger hit it hard right at Pierce. Tied at 4 into the 10th. Anaheim. First of all, Brendan Harris comes into the game. He's at second base. Kendrick is out of the ball game. That's where the pitcher will hit. No DH anymore for the Angels, and that pitcher is Garrett Richards, who was originally scheduled to start tomorrow. He's made 4 starts, 2 good, 2 poor. He's got a great arm. And as we talked about earlier, Mike Scioscia thinks he could be anything from an effective starting pitcher in the big leagues to a closer. And it's up to him, and you would have to believe a guy who's stretched out as a starter now, he's got this for a while as long as this game goes.
Or at least until the Angels get as far to where they have to pinch hit for him. It's interesting that now Mike Scioscia, who is a National League player, will be managing as a National League manager. It's rare that in the American League you see double switches, but in effect with Harris and Richards into the game, that's what's happened.
Adam Jones will lead off for the Orioles. Adam has a hit, a walk. He's 1 for 3. Nolan Reimold will follow, and then J.J. Hardy 2 of the 3 have hit home runs today. Reimold in the 7th, Hardy back in the 2nd. Orioles led 4-0 into the bottom of the 7th. It's a tie game now in the 10th. Strike 1. Frieri was in there for 1 inning, struck out 3. And Richards is the 5th pitcher of the day for Mike Scioscia. The 0-1. A ball and a strike. Garrett Richards made those 2 good starts. However, over his last 2 starts, 12 2/3 innings, he's allowed 12 runs. His 1-1 pitch to Jones. Right back to him and through him. Into center, and the leadoff man is on.
To him and through him, huh? I like that. That's exactly what happened.
Just never know what's going to come out. Jones is on to start the 10th.
Exactly right. I mean, had that ball have been fielded by Richards, it's an easy out at first base. But now the Orioles have the guy they want. One of their fastest guys at first base with nobody out.
That's Adam Jones with Nolan Reimold at the plate. Reimold a 2 RBI day, a sac fly. He almost hit a home run back in the 5th, and then he did in the 7th.
Garrett Richards stepping off to see if Reimold is bunting or not.
In case you're wondering, Adam Jones has 1 steal. Reimold, the DH, waits and takes in the dirt ball 1. Tommy Hanson, the starter for the Angels, long gone. He went 5. Freddie Garcia, despite not giving up a hit until the 7th and leading 4-0, will not get a win. Here's a 1-0. A ball and a strike. Reimold looks down at third base coach Bobby Dickerson, who is deep down there at third base, well beyond the coach's box down there, and a 1-1 pitch. Shows bunt, takes a strike, and now in the hole 1-2.
The reason Bobby Dickerson is out of the box down there is sometimes if coaches stay in the box, the guy on at first can't see him give the signs.
So well down past third base. Figure they play it straight here. Runner at first, nobody out, and a 1-2 count.
Oh yeah, with 2 strikes, absolutely. He's swinging.
Richards deals, and a check swing on ball 2. With the double switch in the bottom of the inning, it means that Brendan Harris will lead off, then Schuck, then Ibar. Here comes a 2-2 from Richards. Instead, he looks at Adam Jones. Reimold bounces a double play ball to second. Harris flips wide at second, and they get only 1. So just into the game, Harris kicks at the dirt as he just blew a chance to turn 2.
It's amazing how the baseball can find you if you're in for late inning defense on a double switch. That ball flipped to the outside side. Fine play by Eric Ibar. They do get 1. But had the throw been there, they would have gotten 2 in all probability. It was hit hard enough to where they could get Reinhold.
So instead, Reimold's on at first with 1 out, and J.J. Hardy steps to the plate. Hardy with a home run and a single. He's 2 out of 4 on the day. And at the knees, strike 1. In case you're wondering, Reimold does not have a steal 0 for 1 in attempting a stolen base. The Angels in the bottom of this 10th inning will have Harris, Shuck, and Ibar. Anybody gets on Trout. Here is an 0-1 pitch. Runner goes. Ground ball left side, and it's Ibar making the play. 2 out. Down to second is Reimold, carrying the go-ahead run. And now Steve Pearce, who has 2 hits, been hit by a pitch, could put Baltimore back out in front. Tie game, top of the 10th. Runner at second, 2 out. Orioles 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position in this game. A big reason why the Angels were still in the game. Baltimore has stranded to this point 8 and hit into 2 double plays.
And all 3 home runs have been solo shots.
Richards trying to get around a leadoff base hit by Adam Jones. The 0-1. Into right field, a base hit. Trumbo will come up throwing. Reimold coming to the plate and safe. The Orioles take a 1-run lead. Steve Pearce, with his 3rd hit of the game, has put Baltimore back in front.
Well, with 2 outs, it's easier to get a good jump at second base. And Reimold with a good jump. Pearce going to second base on the throw up the line. Remember, we were talking to Buck Showalter about the arm of Mark Trumbo. He had a 6, he said a 6 arm, which we assume above 5 is great. And that was a strong throw, but up the third base line as Reimold scored. One more time.
A good throw gets him, but it pulled Conger up the line, and Reimold got around it. An intentional pass being given to Ryan Flaherty, and Chris Snyder is due, but it's going to be Matt Wieters off the bench. So it's a luxury to have Wieters to come off the bench, and you know,
sure,
knowing this now, you're picking Wieters over Ryan Flaherty. And so Wieters will come off the bench after the Angels walk Flaherty, who started the day with his 2nd lowest average in Major League Baseball at 108. And one of the best young players in the game, Matt Wieters, will come off the bench and bat for Chris Snyder.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy for Buck Showalter to pinch hit in this situation because it's catcher for catcher.
It also adds to the defense. Wieters is one of the best throwing catchers in the game. So
right.
In what could be a 1-run game against a team that doesn't mind running, you have that luxury of having Wieters behind the plate to try and slow down the Angels' running game. So Wieters steps in. Off to a 224 start. Switch hitting catcher waits for the first from Richards, and it's fouled out of play left side. One of the reasons why Wieters started this day on the bench since 2010, he's caught more innings than any other catcher in the American League. the second most in baseball behind Yadier Molina.
And a good time to rest him with a day game after a night game.
So 2 on, 2 out for Matt, and the 0-1 pitch is fouled away again, strike 2.
Buck Showalter telling us something I have never heard before, saying that Matt Wieters knows how to enjoy a day off. That some guys are too anxious. They're all excited and everything. Not Wieters. I've never heard a manager say that about a player, but I understand it. These guys are wired and geared to play.
Here's the 0-2.
Kind of like a Derby favorite.
Showalter said he becomes full-on couch potato for the first 6 innings. And he can shut down. And then about the 7th, he starts getting ready for what could be a pinch hitting appearance. And that's coming right here in the 10th. 2 on, 2 out. A run home and a 5-4 Oriole lead. The 1-2. Ground ball, diving stop by Pujols. Flips for the out. And Albert Pujols, who could bat in the bottom of this 10th inning, takes a hit and an RBI away with a dive to his right. Bottom of the 10th, Angels will bat. Down by a run. One-run lead for the Orioles here in the 10th inning as Hamilton will lead it off. It's Matt Wieters behind the plate. And then the closer for the Orioles, Jim Johnson, on the mound looking for save number 11. He's 10 for 10. Not the true power arm, but a guy that possesses a power sinker is Johnson, and Hamilton first up. Nobody swings at the first pitch more than Hamilton. He took that one for strike 1.
Just odd to see him take a first pitch. So used to seeing him.
He lines one into left field. Hard hit, but there's McLeod, 1 out. So Hamilton, who was working on his swing prior to the game, gets a line drive, but it's a putout. He was batting for Brendan Harris, and the batter will be J.B. Shuck. The producer of today's game is Jeff Gowen, the director Jim Lynch, the associate director Eric Billigmeyer, the associate producers Andy Cavanaugh. My thanks and our thanks as always to Steve Horn, editorial consultant, and our technical producer Dan Rotante. Technical director is Simon Benazra. Pre-game show produced by Ethan Kleinberg and directed by Mark Deaver. First pitch is a ball for Shuck, who's 0 for 2. Now a 1-1 count from Johnson. Buck Showalter says he now prefers the type pitcher that Jim Johnson is, as opposed to just a thrower that goes out there and throws 98 miles per hour. He is a pitcher who can change his approach at bat by at bat, day to day, and he's ahead on the count 1-2 on Shuck.
Contrary to most closers, he can throw a sinking fastball, a curveball, and a changeup. And even in a tie game, he uses all of them.
Still gets that up there at 95. You saw that stat. Johnson has not blown a save since last July. 31 straight. Longest active streak in the game. That's going to be a tough play if it's fair, and it's not. Still 2-2.
The guy that Jim Johnson credits for really reviving his career. In 2008, Dave Schmidt, who was the minor league pitching coordinator of the Baltimore Orioles, lengthened his stride. He's a tall guy. That made the sinker go down, and he credits Dave Schmidt for where he is today. And that's a good spot for the Orioles.
He's the anchor of one of the game's best bullpens. You don't go 29-9 last year in 1-run games and 16-2 in extra innings without a good bullpen.
No.
The combined ERA under 2.8 at the start of the day. That group in the pen, and here's a fly ball into left center field. McLeod to his left. Cuts to him, 2 out. And with the bases empty, back to the top of the order, and Eric Ivar. And again, our thanks to Goodyear for their aerial coverage today. Everything Goodyear has learned making tires that go the distance inspires what they roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven. It's up to Ibar. 2 out, nobody on, and Eric is 1 for 4 on the day. Ball 1. Ibar is grounded out, has an RBI ground out, fly to right, singled and scored. Here's the 1-0 to the right side, should end it. Flaherty in 10, 5-4. Tommy Hunter the winner. Richards is the loser. The save for Jim Johnson, number 11. And for Kenny Rosenthal and my partner Tim McCarver, Joe Buck, MLB Network Studios. Coming up, post-game coverage. Here's Matt Vasgersian.